After 50 years of marriage, Ji Wangchuan still harbored bone-deep hatred for me. I bent over backwards to please him, raised our 2 children to remarkable success, yet on our golden anniversary, he still refused to take a single photo with me. My heart was shattered, but when that speeding car came at me, he died saving my life. With his last breath, he mustered every ounce of strength to pull the wedding ring off his finger. Meng Wanwan, how I wish I hadn't saved you first that day. At the funeral, the son was overcome with grief. Dad, you always said fate kept you and Aunt Qingqiu apart, that Mom ruined your life and robbed you of a peaceful death, but now you're finally reunited with her. My daughter glared at me with pure venom. If it weren't for you, your father wouldn't have died so soon. You're nothing but a jinx. Why couldn't it have been you instead? Everyone said Ji Wangchuan shouldn't have married me. Even I thought so. So I made a deal with the system and traveled back 50 years. This time, I'll vanish completely from Ji Wangchuan's life and give everyone what they want. Meng Wanwan, don't sleep, wake up now. A man's urgent voice pierced through my daze. As I struggled to open my eyes, I inhaled a lungful of thick smoke. Before me stood the warped steel frames of the workshop, and a young Ji Wangchuan. I'd actually traveled back 50 years, to the very origin of all our mistakes in our past life. During the cotton mill fire, Ji Wangchuan saved me first. By the time he doubled back, Song Qingqiu next door had already perished. He resented me for this our entire lives. Now I finally have the chance to change everything. Climb on, I'll carry you out. Ji Wangchuan stretched his arms forward. I swallowed the lump in my throat and pushed his hand away. Song Qingqiu, she's in the East warehouse. Go save her, quick. Ji Wangchuan's outstretched hand froze. His gaze involuntarily darting eastward, his face was overflowing with visible distress and urgency. The next instant, he turned back and firmly grasped my arm. You first, I'll be right there. No, I cut him off, pushing his hand away again. Ji Wangchuan, if you don't save her first, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Thus began my lifetime of misery, 50 years of marriage, 50 years of emotional neglect. Staggering to my feet, I said, I can make it out myself. Hurry, she's barely hanging on. Without waiting for his reply, I limped forward. As Ji Wangchuan's footsteps faded behind me, I forced a smile, but tears escaped unbidden. That first red thread of fate, it must be severed completely now. In my past life, I struck a deal with the system to gain this chance to return to the past. The system revealed, 3 intertwined red threads bind you and Ji Wangchuan. Within 3 days of rebirth, you must sever all 3 completely before departing. From then on, we'd go our separate ways. No marriage, no children. He wouldn't waste his life pining for me, nor meet an untimely end because of this bond. But all actions have consequences. Tampering with fate's design demands payment. I'd pay any price to see him live happily. Now he can successfully save Song Qingqiu. The system's influence is weakening the bond between Ji Wangchuan and me. Boom. The rapidly spreading flames snapped me out of my thoughts. My steps grew increasingly unsteady. The wound on my leg throbbed painfully, and I'd inhaled far too much smoke. In the haze before losing consciousness, I felt myself caught in a warm embrace. Water, water. As lukewarm water soothed my throat, I gradually opened my eyes. As my vision cleared, Ji Wangchuan at 25 came crashing into my sight. His stubble was dark with neglect, eyes bloodshot from obvious exhaustion. Awake, his voice was ragged. His right hand hovering midair as if torn between reaching for me and holding back. I averted my gaze. After all this time, it was still him who came to my rescue. My fingers instinctively brushed against my ring finger. No wedding band, just 2 faint red marks. I'd done it. Song Qingqiu was alive. The first red mark had vanished. Need more water. He brought the cup to my lips, his fingers brushing against my mouth. The scalding heat sent a shiver through my body. It reminded me of my final moments in a past life. Those same hands cradling my face before resolutely sliding off the wedding ring, murmuring how much better life would have been without me. I turned my face away and shook my head in refusal. Your leg, I'm sorry I got there too late. His voice trailed off as his gaze fell on my right leg. I smiled knowingly. In my past life, that fire left me permanently disabled in my right leg. By old age, I could only get around in a wheelchair, but, this time, pushing him out of harm's way forced me to walk farther on my injured leg, making the damage even worse than before. I tapped my heavily bandaged right leg, forcing a casual tone. Am I losing this leg? Ji Wangchuan sprang to his feet, voice trembling. Don't talk nonsense. I won't let anything happen to you. I've contacted specialists in the provincial capital. we're transferring tomorrow, even if it bankrupts me. Watching his frantic concern for me, I gave a self-deprecating chuckle. How could I not love this version of Ji Chuan? We've known each other for decades. He's always been like this, all tough talk, but softer than anyone inside. Even though he didn't love me, he still spent all his savings to treat my right leg. The doctor said I shouldn't climb stairs this year, so rain or shine, he comes to pick me up from work every single day. He held my hand as we wandered through streets and alleys. In those days before elevators were common, he'd carry me upstairs day after day, night after night. Ji Chuan was perfect in every way, except he didn't love me. I lowered my head to hide the glimmer of tears. Don't bother, this isn't your concern. By the way, how's Song Qingqiu doing? I awkwardly changed the subject. At the mention of Song Qingqiu, his expression softened momentarily. She's fine, just inhaled some smoke. Xiao Zhang even took her photo, and she was smiling like nothing happened. That's good to hear. Ji Chuan chuckled, and I found myself smiling along. I gazed out the window at clouds shaped like a giant sunflower in the sky. I was so absorbed that Ji Chuan waved his hand before my eyes. With a smile, he said, "Missing the sunflowers, aren't you? There's a whole field by the hospital entrance. Wait here, I'll pick some for you." I froze for a moment. It was the first time Ji Chuan had ever offered to bring me flowers. I swallowed back the rising emotion and forced a radiant smile. "Sure, I'll wait for you." Ji Chuan stepped out, and I traced his receding figure with my fingertips. "Just this once, let me be selfish." I cradled my belly, feeling the life within. "Tomorrow, I'll decisively sever the second red thread." After Ji Chuan left, I noticed something on the floor, probably something he dropped. I forced myself out of bed, leaning against the wall as I shuffled forward. It was a photograph. As I bent down to pick it up, my breath caught in my throat. It's the photo Ji Chuan just mentioned. In the photo, Song Qingqiu was making a funny face while Ji Chuan gazed at her with a tenderness in his eyes I'd never seen before. I suddenly remembered our golden anniversary in our past life, wearing a brand new qipao. I'd timidly asked, "Wang Chuan, shall we take a photo together?" He refused without even looking up. No need. He seemed to have forgotten that in over 50 years, we never took a single photo together. Even our marriage certificate just had our individual pictures pasted side by side. What I'd longed for all my life, she obtained effortlessly. "Comrade Meng." The nurse's call snapped me out of my thoughts. "Your leg hasn't healed yet. Why are you out of bed? Let me help you back." I waited till nightfall, but Ji Chuan's sunflowers never came. Worried something might have happened to him, I asked the nurse to check on his whereabouts. The nurse gave me a pitying look. "He's fine. Comrade Ji has been staying in Comrade Song Qingqiu's room the whole time." They seemed quite happy together. We could hear laughter from their ward. "Don't you have an abortion procedure tomorrow? You should get some rest." My smile froze on my face, unexpected, yet somehow inevitable. Ji Chuan never lied to me, except when it came to Song Qingqiu. Wang Chuan and I got engaged a year ago, but I never stopped him from seeing her. It just so happened that Song Qingqiu's father made a political misstep recently, right when Ji Chuan was at a critical juncture of being transferred back to the provincial capital. That's why I stopped him from getting too involved with Song Qingqiu. He agreed to my face, but kept finding excuses behind my back to see her. In our past life, he even believed I deliberately made Song Qingqiu miss the golden rescue window, and hated me for it till the day he died. I lay back in bed and closed my eyes, realizing I'd been too greedy. Late into the night, Ji Chuan never came. Instead, his parents arrived. Mrs. Zhou's eyes welled up the moment she saw me. "Poor Wan, how did you get hurt like this?" Mr. Zhou frowned deeply, his brows knitting together, when he noticed my empty hospital room. "Where the hell is Ji Chuan? How dare he disappear when you're this badly injured?" The genuine concern from Uncle and Aunt Zhou made my heart ache. After my parents' sacrifice, the Zhous truly treated me as their own daughter. I've always been obedient, but this time I have to go against their wishes. I sat up straight and said solemnly to the elderly couple, "Uncle, Aunt, let's call off the engagement between Ji Chuan and me. In a few days, I'll request a transfer to East City. I'll always remember all the kindness you've shown me over the years." Mrs. Zhou froze for a moment before rushing to hold my arm. Wan, don't be hasty. East City is worlds away. How would a young girl like you manage there alone? Did that rascal Wang Chuan hurt you by rescuing that Song family girl first? Don't worry, I'll give that boy a proper talking to. Wang Chuan truly cares for you. The moment he heard about your leg injury, He immediately arranged for us to contact the provincial hospital. He's just confused right now. Please don't leave in anger. In my past life, when Song Qingqiu passed away and Ji Wanchuan was grief-stricken, they said these exact words to console me too. In the end, I endured 50 years of a hollow marriage where we were physically together but emotionally estranged, until everyone came to regret it. As I returned Zhou's mother's hand squeeze, I spoke softly, "Auntie, Wanchuan's heart isn't with me, forced affection isn't sweet, I can't marry him like this, even if he married me now. I already know how miserable our marriage would be, he'd spend his whole life pining for someone else, and I refused to watch him live unhappily." My voice broke then, choking back the grief rising in my throat. "Mrs. Zhou sighed, Wanwan, once you're married, Wanchuan will come to see your worth." I wiped the tears from the corner of my eye and shook my head with a smile. "Uncle, Aunt, love isn't something that grows with time alone. I don't want to force him, let's just leave it at that." Mr. and Mrs. Zhou exchanged a long look before letting out a heavy sigh. Mrs. Zhou dabbed her tears. "It seems our Zhou family isn't blessed enough to have such a wonderful daughter-in-law as Wanwan." Uncle Zhou patted my shoulder and said, "If you encounter any difficulties in East City, don't hesitate to reach out. Your aunt and I will always be your family." Tears instantly welled up in my eyes as I hugged Aunt Zhou. "Thank you, Uncle and Aunt." After a sleepless night, I was wheeled into the operating room early the next morning. I never imagined a miscarriage could hurt more than childbirth. The doctor inserted forceps into my body and began maneuvering them. Trembling from pain, I clenched my teeth and bit down hard on my lip. This agony reminded me of that night in my past life when I gave birth, carrying twins. I labored for a full day and night before delivering just one child. The doctor said if I couldn't deliver within an hour, both the baby and I would be in mortal danger. But I'm completely drained of strength. Zhou Wanchuan gripped my hand tightly. "Wanwan, please try harder. I can't lose you and our child. I'm begging you, just push a little more." To my shock, he was crying. Only the second time I'd seen him shed tears. The first being when Song Qingqiu died. Seeing his tears, I suddenly found renewed strength and pushed our baby into the world. Zhou Wanchuan held my sweat-drenched body as his tears fell onto my shoulder. "Wanwan, no more children, never again. I'm terrified of losing you." Back then, I naively believed Zhou Wanchuan actually had feelings for me, but after that, when he said no children, he never touched me again. The surgery lasted only half an hour, yet it felt like lifetimes had passed. The nurse wheeled me back to the ward, and I mustered the strength to call the textile factory director for a transfer request. Being a martyr's orphan, the director agreed without hesitation. "I'll go report in within the next few days." After hanging up, I collapsed onto the hospital bed, silently feeling the second red line fade away. "This is how it should be," I murmured to the empty hospital room. "They were just accidents. These two children were never meant to be in this world." Then my heart suddenly convulsed violently, the pain doubling me over. I clenched the quilt corner between my teeth, but the floodgates of tears burst open. I actually killed my own child with my own hands. I don't know how long I wept until exhaustion finally claimed me, only to be jolted awake by a thunderous roar of rage. "Meng Wanwan." Zhou Wanchuan yanked me up with such force it felt like he was crushing my wrist. "During the fire, you told me to save Qingqiu first. I actually thought you'd changed, but you were just setting me up. All because I forgot to bring you those damn flowers. You had to tattle to my parents and make them bully Qingqiu. Now she's slit her wrists, the hospital blood bank's running low and she's still in critical condition. Happy now." It took me several seconds to process Zhou Wanchuan's words. In my past life, Song Qingqiu died in that fire. This time I made sure Zhou Wanchuan saved her, even called off our engagement, so why would she still attempt suicide? I was just wondering how to sever this third thread of life-saving debt. Now, it couldn't be more perfect. Struggling to sit up in the hospital bed, I asked, "So you think I drove her to suicide?" Ji Wanchuan froze, clearly unprepared for my bluntness. His tone grew even sharper. "How dare you play the victim, with Qingqiu fighting for her life right now? You should be kneeling outside that operating room begging for forgiveness." He wheeled my entire hospital bed straight to the hors d'oeuvres. Nurses rushed around frantically trying to secure blood donations. 3. She turned to Ji Wanchuan and said, "The patients lost too much blood and we're running low on type B. Find potential donors immediately. We don't have time for cross-hospital transfers. She's crashing fast." I tugged at the nurse's sleeve. "I'm type B blood, take mine." The nurse brightened. "Thank God, the patient can be saved." But we need at least 400 milliliters, you look so pale, are you sure you can handle it? No, Ji Wangchuan knocked my hand away sharply, I'll find someone else, don't play the hero, 400 milliliters of blood, you're so frail, are you trying to kill yourself? The nurse urged anxiously, but the patient is critical, they don't have much time left. Ji Wangchuan gazed at the operating room, his eyes brimming with anguish. I understood the urgency in his expression. I tugged the nurse's sleeve again and whispered, I can handle it, I'm willing to donate. The nurse looked at me and said, have you had any major surgeries recently? If so, this could cost you half your life, even if not, it'll drain you severely. I looked down at my stomach and slowly shook my head, no need for tests, I'll recover with rest, saving lives comes first. Ji Wangchuan gripped my wrist tightly again, frowning, after a dozen seconds. He released me and pushed me into the blood draw room, he tucked the blanket tightly around me. I owe you this time, I'll make it up to you properly. After he left, the doctor began drawing blood. As blood continuously drained from my body, in my dazed state I suddenly remembered that night with Ji Wangchuan. It was over a month ago when he was dead drunk. Madame Zhou asked me to bring him some honey water to sober up, but when he pulled me into his embrace, all control slipped away. Since our engagement, Zhou Wangchuan and I had only held hands once. He kissed my lips hungrily, his mouth trailing down my neck. The stench of alcohol was overwhelming, yet it intoxicated me too. He changed the clear autumn that slipped from his lips to Wanwan instead, a night of chaos and pain, yet indescribably beautiful to me. I nodded. The next day, he vowed to marry me and protect me, true to his word. He shielded me for 50 years, right until his final breath. Yet I knew that night was stolen time. Now I must set everything right and sever all ties between us. As blood slowly filled the vessel, my strength failed and darkness took me. In that final moment before unconsciousness, I remembered again his dying vow in our past life, that we'd never meet again, not in life nor death. Tears streamed down uncontrollably as I whispered, Brother Wangchuan, I won't bother you anymore in this lifetime. When I woke again, I found myself back in the same hospital room. I must have slept for ages. It was already afternoon on the third day, time for me to leave. I called for a nurse and borrowed a phone. Shortly after hanging up, Zhou Wangchuan walked in carrying an insulated food container. The thermos was filled to the brim with thick, nourishing red date porridge, clearly homemade rather than store-bought. I took a spoonful and asked, did you make this? Zhou Wangchuan turned his head away. Though his tone carried unmistakable tenderness, I added plenty of red dates. The doctor says they're great for blood replenishment. Qingqiu is out of danger now. Thank you. I took a big spoonful of porridge and looked at Ji Wangchuan. Brother Wangchuan, if it had been someone else who fell in the water that day a year ago, you would have saved them too, right? He paused briefly before nodding. Yes, it's my duty. My heart ached with sharp pain as tears welled up. Yet I forced my brightest smile. Then there's no need to thank me. Saving Song Qingqiu was simply what I had to do. Brother Wangchuan, you saved my life a year ago, now I've saved the life of the one you love. Consider this debt repaid. Our shared destiny ends here. I was immature before. After my parents' sacrifice, I clung to you desperately. I just wanted a family so badly, depended on you too much. Forcing you to marry me must have been torture for you. It won't happen again. I'll change, breaking the habit of loving you and following you. I won't marry him or have children with him again. He won't have to give up the girl he loves or endure 50 years of marital misery, nor would he lose his life trying to save me. A flicker of panic crossed Wangchuan's mind as he began to speak, only to be cut off by the nurse. Comrade Ji, Comrade Song is awake and keeps calling your name. I saw the sudden spark in his eyes, a brilliance I'd never been privileged to receive. He rose hastily, yet hesitated as his gaze lingered on me. Go ahead, I said with a smile, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face. She needs you more. Ji Wangchuan stood frozen, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. Wanwan, wait for me. Brother Wangchuan, I interrupted, my voice feather-light. Promise me you'll be happy in this lifetime. He stiffened, unease creeping into his voice. What nonsense is this? We have our whole lives ahead, just rest, I'll be right back. There's something I need to tell you. With that, he turned and walked away, his footsteps fading into the distance down the hallway. I gently touched my ring finger, knowing there would be no more tomorrows. The third red thread was severed completely. I settled into the wheelchair and left the hospital. Just as expected, a vibrant field of sunflowers in full bloom greeted us at the hospital entrance. Their golden radiance warmed the soul like sunshine. Yet the sunflower bouquet meant for me never arrived. After comforting Song Qingqiu, Zhou Wangchuan immediately rushed back to the ward, but there was no sign of anyone, so he decided to go look for help. The nurse making rounds entered just then, frowning at the empty bed as she questioned him. "Where's Comrade Meng? She just had an abortion procedure and is still very weak, she shouldn't be walking around." Zhou Wangchuan stood by the ward door, his ears ringing. "An abortion? What abortion?" The nurse was startled by his sudden pallor, her voice trembling. It was the procedure the morning before yesterday. Comrade Meng insisted on terminating the pregnancy. "A baby, our baby." Zhou Wangchuan's breath hitched violently, his vision swimming with dark spots. Suddenly he remembered her ashen complexion that day, the faint tremor in her fingertips during the blood draw. So many red flags had been there. Yet he'd failed to notice, and at that very moment, he'd actually forced her to save Song Qingqiu. Zhou Wangchuan muttered to himself, "She just lost her child, and I forced her to donate 400 milliliters of blood." The nurse gasped. 400 milliliters, you drew 400 milliliters of blood right after her miscarriage? Are you insane? Her body can't handle this." His eyes reddened. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. I am sorry, this is all my fault." Zhou Wangchuan's fist smashed violently against the wall, his knuckles immediately bleeding. He remembered her frail smile on the hospital bed, remembered that resolute glimmer in her eyes when she whispered, "Brother Wangchuan, you must be happy in this lifetime." Zhou Wangchuan suddenly realized she had planned to leave all along. She'd aborted their child, carrying nothing but scars, vanishing completely from his life. Where is she now? He grabbed the nurse's shoulders violently. The nurse recoiled at his bloodshot eyes, stammering, "We don't know either." Zhou Wangchuan turned and rushed out, only to collide with his hurrying parents in the hallway. "Dad, Mom." He looked up to meet their livid faces. Zhou's father swung his hand, the sharp slap echoing down the corridor. "You disgrace, Mrs." Zhou's eyes reddened as she tremblingly handed over an envelope. "Wanwan had this delivered." Zhou Wangchuan's hand shook as he opened it. "A jade green ring, our engagement ring. Brother Wangchuan, the debt for saving my life is repaid, we owe each other nothing now. May you and Comrade Qingqiu grow old together in happiness." "Wanwan, where has she gone?" Zhou Wangchuan asked with a trembling voice. "Now you ask," old Zhou sneered. "The transfer order to East City was approved this morning." Before the words had fully left his mouth, Zhou Wangchuan was already sprinting away, his heart-wrenching shout echoed from the end of the corridor. "Get the car ready, to the train station." "Old mister." Zhou watched his son's retreating figure and heaved a heavy sigh. Had I known this day would come, but by the time he stumbled breathlessly into the station, the train was already pulling away. Inside the train compartment, Meng Xingzhou carefully lifted me onto the berth, then thoughtfully placed a soft pillow behind my back. He was the orphan my late father adopted. The boy who used to follow me around calling me sis now stood a full head taller than me. Here, have some soup," he said as he opened the thermos, releasing a rich aroma that instantly filled the air. "I've been simmering this for 5 hours." Staring into his bloodshot eyes, I was suddenly reminded of our past life. During those years when my own children shunned me, only Xingzhou would visit regularly, always bringing this same pot of soup. "Silly boy." I ruffled his tousled hair. "It's not like I'm seriously ill." He stubbornly scooped up a spoonful of soup and gently blew on it to cool it down. "The doctor said it'll take at least 6 months to recover." His voice suddenly choked up. "That bastard Zhou Wangchuan, if I ever see him again, I swear I'll..." "Xingzhou," I cut him off, taking the soup bowl. "It's all in the past now. I won't look back anymore." The train compartment fell silent. He turned around, pulled a bunch of sunflowers from his backpack, found an empty jar to arrange them in, and clumsily placed it on the narrow table. "At the hospital." He insisted on picking a huge bouquet of sunflowers for me to hold. I laughed and tried to stop him. "This isn't like being at home." Yet he stubbornly adjusted the angle of the flowers and spoke softly. "Because you love them." I froze, tears welling up suddenly. So someone in this world still remembers. Meng Wanwan's favorite flowers were always sunflowers, not the bouquet Zhou Wangchuan forgot to pick, nor the unreachable patch outside the hospital window. This bouquet was picked just for me, with every stem carefully angled to perfection. On the platform, Zhou Wangchuan charged onto the platform like a madman, pounding on each train window. His uniform was crumpled, tear stains still fresh on his face. Wanwan. Yet the train had already accelerated away, vanishing into the distance. He collapsed to his knees, weeping bitterly. It seemed he had lost Meng Wanwan. When Zhou Wangchuan found me, the kapok trees in East City were in full bloom. he stood under the textile factory dormitory. His uniform crumpled, clutching a wilted bouquet of sunflowers in his arms. After 3 months apart, his cheekbones protruded sharply, with dark circles shadowing his eyes. Wan, his voice cracked hoarsely. I'm sorry I'm late, the transfer request was hard to get approved. I sat in the wheelchair as the ball of yarn slipped from my hand. He immediately crouched to pick it up, moving so hastily that his knee slammed hard against the concrete floor. Seeing him so dejected made my heart ache. His hand reached toward my blanket-covered knee but froze midair. Does your leg still hurt? I shook my head. Not anymore. Xingzhou found me a specialist here. By the way, how's Comrade Xingqiu doing? His Adam's apple bobbed as he pulled a letter from his coat. Wan, nothing happened between us. I had her write this letter to explain. Brother Wangchuan, I interrupted softly. Don't bother. I know better than anyone. You don't love me. Don't let me come between you two. Comrade Xingqiu is wonderful. I wish you both happiness. A petal landed on his shoulder. My hand instinctively reached to brush it away, then withdrew, looking into his bloodshot eyes. I said, there's no future for us anymore. But you and Xingqiu still have many good years ahead. Zhou Wangchuan shook his head, voice choked. No, that's not it. When you asked if I'd save someone else who fell into the water, now I know the answer. His tears fell hot on the back of my hand. I'd save anyone. But only you terrify me. He unbuttoned his collar, revealing a vicious scar below the collarbone. Got this rescuing Xingqiu during the fire. But you know what? The whole time, all I could think was, I need to get to you. I was terrified that 1 second too late would mean losing you forever. The distant chime of a bicycle bell announced Meng Xingzhou's return from the canteen, lunchbox swinging in his hand. He came jogging over, then froze mid-step at the sight before him. Zhou Wangchuan seemed oblivious, his forehead pressed against the back of my hand as scalding tears soaked through my sleeve. It's always been you I loved. I was just too foolish to realize it until I lost you. Wan, could you give me one more chance? Staring into his bloodshot eyes, I remembered how he'd removed his wedding ring on his deathbed in our past life. His tears had burned just like this back then. Brother Wangchuan, I gently withdrew my hand and brushed the petals off his shoulder. It's all in the past now. Meng Xingzhou suddenly cleared his throat. Sis, dinner's ready. 5. Zhou Wangchuan stood up. I won't pressure you. I'll come again tomorrow. No need, I declined softly. Xingzhou will take care of me. He stood there, his shadow stretching long in the setting sun. Even as Xingzhou wheeled me around the hallway corner, I could still feel that gaze burning into my back like a weight. Zhou Wangchuan came by a few more times after that, sometimes with a pack of brown sugar, other times with herbal patches. Once during a downpour, he stood outside all night and was carried away by co-workers at dawn, burning with fever. Gradually, I realized I was starting to forget Zhou Wangchuan. The first time I noticed was when I pointed at the man standing downstairs and asked Xingzhou about him. Who is this guy? Is he waiting for someone? Why's he been standing outside our building? Meng Xingzhou widened his eyes and shot back. You don't remember him. It suddenly dawned on me that I must have known him. I can remember everyone perfectly. Yet they say he's the only one I've forgotten. The strangest part is how everyone claims I forgot someone, but no one can tell me who that person was. I vaguely recall making an exchange with someone. Perhaps this is the price of that bargain. One day, Meng Xingzhou suddenly cupped my face and studied me intently. Wan, why do you keep staring blankly at your ring finger lately? I looked down in confusion to find my right hand repeatedly caressing the ring finger of my left. As if something had once adorned it, though I'd certainly never worn a ring before. I smiled at him. What do you think? I just feel like my ring finger's missing something. He hugged me shyly and murmured, soon. Before long, Xingzhou proposed to me, and I was overjoyed. I was trying on wedding dresses the afternoon I met that man. A tall figure stood outside the shop window, sunlight gilding his silhouette. Wan. He called softly through the glass. I smiled politely. Comrade. Do we know each other? His expression froze instantly. Just then, Meng Xingzhou rushed out and grabbed him. Zhou Wangchuan, you promised never to show up again. Zhou Wangchuan, I whispered the name in my heart. 3 days later, as I waited for Meng Xingzhou under the kapok tree, he appeared again. This time he was in casual clothes, cradling a faded sunflower specimen in his hands. I noticed a vicious scar below his collarbone. He suddenly spoke up. On March 28, 1971. The day of the cotton mill fire. You said if you save Song Qingqiu first, you'll never regret it for the rest of your life. I blinked in confusion. With trembling hands, he pulled out an emerald ring from his coat. but I did regret it. Comrade, I cut him off. You've got the wrong person. His expression crumbled, and after what felt like an eternity, he walked away. A year later, I saw Song Qingqiu at my wedding banquet. Comrade Qingqiu, why are you standing in the sun? Come inside and sit down. I stepped outside and stared in shock at the pale-faced Song Qingqiu at the door, clutching a craft paper envelope in her hand. Her gaze lingered on the wedding band on my ring finger. Sis Wanwan, do you really not remember him? Her voice trembled. Zhou Wanchuan, the director of the textile mill. Who? I blinked in confusion. The new technician. Song Qingqiu stared at me intently. You remember me? Remember Meng Xingzhou? Remember Uncle and Aunt Zhou? But him alone you've forgotten. I saw a tall figure in the distance shrink back. I truly don't remember. If I've forgotten him, he probably wasn't that important to me. Song Qingqiu burst into tears. He's gone, last week. Lung cancer. Just 3 months from diagnosis to the end. The sunlight suddenly turned harsh. Squinting, I saw the black-edged envelope peeking through her fingers. It was an obituary. I gave Song Qingqiu a gentle hug and whispered, my condolences. Turning around, I saw Meng Xingzhou waiting for me to propose a toast, so I stepped forward and took his arm. Time lost will never return, just as departed souls can never be reclaimed. 3 months after Wanwan left, I received my transfer order. Dongqing Textile Factory. Father slammed the transfer order on the table. Have you lost your mind? Giving up a bright future in the provincial capital for some backwater town? I said calmly, I have to go. Wanwan is there. Mother's eyes welled up with tears. Wanwan has already. She'll forgive me. I cut off my mother, my voice trembling in a way I didn't even realize. She's always been soft-hearted. My father let out a heavy sigh. What's the point of going? She didn't even want the baby. Those words stabbed through my heart like a knife. Right, she didn't even want our child, that baby who should have been born next spring, who would have called me daddy. My fists clenched until fingernails bit into my palms. I'll bring her back. But after just one meeting, she refused to see me again. I waited beneath her apartment as another sudden storm erupted. I longed for her to come out, but she never did. After the torrential rain, I fell into a coma. I had an endless dream where Song Qingqiu perished in that fire, while I married Wanwan, on our golden anniversary. I saw her in a newly tailored cheongsam, hesitantly asking if we should take a photo together. Without even looking up, I refused with a curt no need. I saw her sitting in the wheelchair, staring blankly at the old photo of me and Song Qingqiu in our youth. Her once bright eyes had dimmed like dust-covered glass. I saw the car coming, pushed her out of the way, but got hit myself. Yet in the end, I told her, Meng Wanwan, how I wish I hadn't saved you first that day. No, that's not how it is. I screamed at the top of my lungs in the dream, but no one could hear me. When I woke up, Mother was sitting by the bed wiping her tears. Wanchuan, let Wanwan go. Mother said, she lost your child, gave her blood, broke her leg. That's more than enough to repay your life-saving debt. The child, our child from that dream. My vision kept fading to black. 6. Before the fire, Wanwan and I spent a night together. She came to bring me sobering soup, but I was too drunk to let her go. The next day I promised to marry her, unaware she was already carrying our child. Yet there she lay alone on the operating table, letting go of that tiny life, and I, monster that I was, forced her to donate blood to Song Qingqiu right after the miscarriage. You bastard. I struck myself so hard across the face that blood trickled from my lips. My mother grabbed my hand in alarm, but I burst into uncontrollable laughter, tears streaming down my face. Across 2 lifetimes, I've failed her. In my past life, I tormented her with emotional neglect for 50 years. In this life, I cost her her child, her health, and ultimately even her memories. Yes, memories. My colleagues in East City told me Wanwan remembers everyone, except me. The doctor said it's psychogenic amnesia, the brain's self-defense mechanism against unbearable pain. I should have let go. Yet whenever I try to move on, memories from our past life haunt me in dreams, in that other world. Wanwan loved me until her dying breath. In this world, Wanwan chose to punish me with oblivion. Later, Wanwan was to marry Meng Xingzhou. The news made me cough up blood in anguish. My mother rushed me to the hospital. It turned out to be terminal lung cancer. I broke down laughing hysterically in the hospital. What right did I have left to keep fighting? I still wanted to see Wanwan in her wedding dress one last time, but my condition took a sudden turn for the worse. In my final moments, I thought I saw Wanwan again. Wanwan, next life, let me be the one to love you. Story 2. On the 3rd day after Shinseo's kidnapping, I helped him escape from the mountains, yet his beloved first love ended up sentenced to 7 years in prison for the kidnapping charges. The day Chin-ku was imprisoned, Shin-seo ruined my birthday celebration. Why did you make me escape? Aik was just throwing a tantrum. She never meant to hurt me, Shin-seo screamed at me hysterically. Oblivious that Chin-ku would actually lay hands on him, I overheard the threat if the Shin family didn't deliver the money soon, they'd break one of his legs. When I told him the truth, Shin-seo stubbornly insisted I was lying. He idolizes Chin-ku as the moon of his world, the snow in his heart, yet treats me and the Song family as mere stepping stones for his success. Over 7 years, Shin-seo built the Shin Empire into prominence with the Song family's backing. At the pinnacle of his success, he dragged me, his wife, to the shoreline on the very day Chin-ku was released from prison. Song Qingyao, your atonement ends only in death. I lost consciousness in the seawater, only to wake on the day Shin-seo himself was taken captive. This time, I watched Shin-seo being taken away in bonds, but didn't follow. Perhaps dying in the mountains was the fate Shin-seo deserved. I'd loved Shin-seo for years. Though many claimed he only approached me for personal gain, yet I still craved the tenderness he showed me. My obsession ran deep, so when I was dragged to the shore and recognized Shin-seo, my husband of 6 years, as my captor, I nearly shattered. Why would you do this to me? Shin-seo flicked his cigarette to the ground and crushed it underfoot. His gaze fell upon my tear-streaked face. Yet his eyes remained unsettlingly calm, even his brows carried only the faintest trace of irritation. Shin-seo's whisper carried over the sea breeze, crystal clear in my ears. For 7 years, he said, I've tried to visit Aik, but she refuses to see me every time. She hates me. I went to see her again yesterday, and this time she finally agreed to meet me. I thought Aik was willing to forgive me, but she told me she's fallen ill in prison and doesn't have long to live. Song Qingyao, this is all your fault. You should atone with your life, while I'll stay by Aika's side for whatever time she has left. Chinka, I never thought I'd hear that name again, let alone imagine my husband of 6 years would try to kill me because of her. Staring at the cold-eyed man before me, I realized with horror how terribly wrong I'd been to keep choosing him. I shouldn't have risked my life to save him from those mountains 7 years ago. I shouldn't have believed he could love me after Chinka went to prison, but time ran out for regrets. At Shin-seo's signal, his men shoved me off the cliff into the raging sea. Bound hand and foot, I kept sinking into the sea, watching the sunlight dance on the waves until I finally suffocated and lost consciousness. The suffocating sensation lingered unbearably, and through the agony, I managed to open my eyes again. No seawater, just a warm, dry cafe. Miss, are you all right? The waitress delivering coffee noticed my pale complexion and the cold sweat beading on my forehead, immediately asking if I felt unwell and needed an ambulance. I shook my head without speaking, gulping down air like a drowning man. Only when my color returned did the waitress set down the coffee and leave. I must have died once. The lingering dread clinging to my heart served as a grim reminder of the death I'd experienced. Yet I was reborn again. My eyes darted around the unfamiliar surroundings. And there, just beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, stood Shin-seo. He was on a call, his face lit with undisguised delight. A taxi pulled up to the curb, and out stepped none other than Chin-ku. The beautiful girl with long black curls waved at Shin-seo, phone in hand. Caught off guard, Shin-seo bounded over with uncontainable glee. 10 steps, 5, 3. Only when Shin-seo got into that green cab and the door shut did I dare exhale deeply. My body trembled with almost manic excitement as I quickly settled the bill and rushed home. Since Shin-seo resents me for harming Chin-ku and occupying his wife's position, this lifetime I'll let him bravely pursue his true love. By evening, news came from the Shin household. Shin-seo had been kidnapped. Seo's been kidnapped. The kidnappers are demanding 10 million for his release, or else. My mother pulled me into her arms, leaving the thread unfinished. Don't worry, Yao Yao. The Shin family has already alerted the police and hired investigators. Seo will be fine. Mom gently rubbed my back to comfort me, knowing exactly how I felt about Shin-seo and fearing I'd act recklessly out of concern. I buried my face in my mother's arms, forcing out a few crocodile tears. Mom, I'm sure brother Seo will be just fine. What could possibly happen to Shin-seo? At worst he'll lose a leg. Nothing compared to the heartbreak he's about to endure. In my past life, when I learned Chin-ku had arranged to meet Shin-seo, I staked out that coffee shop. My stomach churned with jealousy when I saw Shin-seo leaving with Chin-ku, and I ended up tailing them. It wasn't until their car veered off into a remote small town that I realized something was wrong. Fang Xiao was dragged into the mountains by Qin Ke and his accomplices. After alerting the police, I spent a full day trekking deep into the woods to locate their hideout. I planned to wait for the police, but accidentally overheard the kidnappers' conversation. Do you really think the Shen family can cough up 10 million for his ransom? Rumor has it the old mansion's got plenty of illegitimate sons stashed away. We'll find out tomorrow when the exchange happens. No money, no hostage, that's the deal. Are we really just leaving Ado alone to guard him tomorrow? What if something goes wrong? With him tied up this tight, what could possibly go wrong? Just as the two kidnappers were deep in conversation, Qin Ku arrived with a tall, handsome man by her side. Boss's lady. Having overheard their earlier remarks, Qin Ku said coldly, break one of his legs before we leave tomorrow. That'll keep him out of trouble. Break his leg, won't that hurt your feelings? The handsome man ran his fingers through Qin Ku's curls with an amused chuckle. I went through the trouble of kidnapping someone for you, and this is how you tease me. Despite her pouting protest, Qin Ku melted into his embrace, her coquettish demeanor a stark contrast to her earlier aloofness. Jean, once we get the money from the Shen family, let's start fresh somewhere new. Okay, alright. The man pressed a tender kiss to Qin Ku's lips before they descended the mountain together. That night, I fought off sleep and crouched until my legs went numb. Finally spotting a kidnapper stepping out to relieve himself, I grabbed the sharp stone I'd prepared earlier and smashed it against the kidnapper's skull. I didn't stop until he lay unconscious, blood pooling around his head. I retrieved the blood-stained knife from his body, circled around to the cabin's rear window, and handed the crimson blade to Shen Xiao under his astonished gaze. Around 3 a.m., when the mountain forest lay in complete silence, Shen Xiao and I fled through the woods like our lives depended on it. I thought I'd saved him, only to realize I'd doomed myself. This time, I won't take that gamble again, nor will I hand Shen Xiao the blade that could turn against me. The days dragged on painfully slow. My parents tried comforting me while worrying about the Shen family's plight. I could only weep in public, yet offered no leads to the police, nor agreed to the Song family covering the Shen's financial obligations. Your Aunt Shen came to see me. The family fortune has dwindled over these years, their company's in dire straits. 10 million is truly beyond. My parents' words carried a tentative tone, though already inclined to agree. Consulting me now would make the Shen parents favor me more later. The Shen family could never be too poor to afford 10 million. It's simply that Shen's parents assumed someone else would foot the bill and made excuses. But Shen Xiao is their son. Why should his safety concern our Song family? Mom, Dad, we can't pay this money for the Shens. Brother Xiao just lost his temper with me for meddling in his relationship with Qin Ku. If I interfere again now, he'll think I'm using favors to manipulate him. True, Xiao and I had a huge fight recently. I'd urged him again to stay away from Qin Ku, seeing she didn't truly love him. Yet he remains convinced their affection is mutual. After our fight, Shen Xiao never came to see me again. With my birthday just a week away, he kept accompanying Qin Ku instead, even giving her the gift he'd originally promised me. I don't want Brother Xiao to misunderstand me again. I cried so bitterly that my parents had no choice but to turn down the Shen family. The Shen's expressions darkened when they learned our Song family wouldn't provide financial support. Xiao's mother in particular shot me a resentful glare upon realizing this was my decision. After all, in her eyes, I'm still that Song Qingyao who'd go to any lengths to please her for Shen Xiao's sake. She snorted threateningly. This kidnapping incident has shown me some people's true colors. I'll be much more discerning when choosing a wife for our Xiao from now on. My parents visibly bristled at her words, but I remained unfazed. Before heading upstairs, I simply clarified that there was nothing between Shen Xiao and me. Auntie, I know Brother Xiao's heart belongs to someone else. I've let go of my feelings for him, and I truly hope he can be with the person he loves after being rescued. By the way, Auntie and Uncle should have someone announce your visits to the Song residence from now on. Our doors aren't open to just anyone at any time. How dare you speak to your elders like that, you insolent girl, Mrs. Shen Xiao was hopping mad, ready to say more when my parents gestured for them to leave. Their politeness toward the Shens had only ever been because their daughter fancied the Shen boy. The Shen family did eventually cough up 10 million, but before a cent could be spent, Shen Xiao was found. 3 hours before the scheduled exchange, surveillance officers spotted the suspects and tracked their trail deep into the mountains. Nearly all of Shen Xiao's kidnappers were captured. Except for Qin Ke and another man who managed to escape. Shinseo's condition was worse than I'd imagined, his body covered in blunt force trauma, his right Achilles tendon severed, and one eye gouged out. The captors confessed that when severing Shin's tendon, he kept screaming at Qin Ke asking if she'd ever loved him. The obvious no only enraged his tormentors, who then inflicted far worse damage than originally planned. By the time police subdued the kidnappers and found Seo Shin in the cabin, he'd already passed out from the pain. Yao Yao. Would you like to visit Seo? Seo Shin still hadn't regained consciousness at the hospital, though her parents now saw the Shin family's true colors. They'd watched Seo grow up. Upon hearing the news, they rushed to the hospital immediately. Such a fine young soul, why did this have to happen to them? My mother wears her heart on her sleeve. Seeing Shinseo's tragic state in this life already brought her to tears. I can't imagine how unbearable her grief must have been in our past life when she learned of my death. Yao Yao, there are some things your father needs to make clear to you. While my father sympathized with Shinseo's plight, he maintained a more rational perspective. You know, I've never approved of your relationship with Seo. Now with this incident, he's simply not the right person for you. I just want you to think about your future, Dad. I honestly don't have feelings for Shinseo anymore. After he repeatedly chose to hurt me, there's nothing left between us. My father thought I was referring to that big fight I had with Seo recently. Seeing how composed I remained, even when hearing about Seo's hospitalization and coma, the deep furrow between his brows gradually relaxed. Just let it go. Your mother and I will visit the hospital. You've been exhausted lately, stay home and get some proper rest. Perhaps worried I'd soften upon seeing Shinseo at the hospital, Dad hastily insisted I remain at home. I agreed immediately. Staying clear of the Shin family drama suited me just fine, but my peace didn't last long before they came knocking at my door. 6. Shinseo regained consciousness. Qing Yao, Seo wants to see you. Seo's mother showed up at my birthday party, her eyes bloodshot with dark circles underneath. Looking far more haggard than before, after all. No matter how many illegitimate children the Shin family might have, Seo was her only son. I sighed as I looked at the birthday party my parents had so carefully prepared, thinking this time I might actually enjoy a proper celebration. Just like in our past life, Shinseo showed up out of nowhere again. He'd already torn up the invitations I painstakingly prepared, yet still came to torment me for Qin Ke's sake. Song Qingyao. You've ruined Aku. Aku explained everything to me. She never meant to hurt me, she was just afraid my parents wouldn't approve and we'd be forced apart. That's why she came up with this foolish plan, wanting to take the money and start a new life elsewhere with me. If you hadn't arrogantly meddled where you didn't belong, Aku and I would be together now. Your petty jealousy destroyed her. Love is blind. And I wasn't the only one blinded. Shinseo was equally smitten by Qin Ke's charms. It was clearly the Shin family who opposed their relationship and hired top lawyers to get Qin Ke convicted, yet in the end, he only accused me of jealousy. After defending Qin Ke, Shinseo simply walked away, leaving me alone to endure the guests' mockery. Foolishly, even in my past life, I wasn't wise enough, hurt by Shinseo yet still forgiving him, only realizing his true nature when he cost me my life. Qing Yao, I'm begging you as your aunt, please go see Seo. What better birthday surprise than witnessing Shinseo's miserable state on my special day. The hospital air reeked of antiseptic as I fought back nausea and pushed open the ward door. Before I could step inside, a medicine bottle shattered at my feet, the splashing medicine and glass shards barely missed my toes. The sickbed had stripped Shinseo of his usual gentleness, leaving behind a morbid gloom. Those hate-filled eyes only softened slightly upon recognizing me, tinged with sudden remorse. Yao Yao, my apologies. I mistook you for the nurse changing my four. I forced a faint smile, unoffended. As I approached Shinseo, he grew visibly uneasy. He struggled with the bedsheet, trying in vain to cover his injured leg, but his wound hadn't healed. All his efforts proved futile. I gently helped Shinseo lie down and tucked him in. When I looked up at Shinseo again, one eye was bandaged while the other was bloodshot. Yao Yao. Are you avoiding me because you're still upset about what happened before? Normally I'd be the first to fuss over Shinseo, but when he lay severely injured in the hospital without me showing up, he assumed I was still holding a grudge over our pre-kidnapping argument. Yao Yao, I regret everything. I should have listened to you and stayed away from Qin Ke from the start. She's nothing but a liar. She never loved me. I did warn Shinseo repeatedly to stay away from Qin Ke. But every time we ended up arguing about it, Qin Ke appeared suddenly in our lives, beautiful, gentle, the perfect embodiment of everything Shinseyo adored. Looking back now, they must have had their eyes on Shinseyo for a long time. Yao Yao, will you ever forgive me? A nervous flush crept across Shinseyo's sickly pale face, his remaining eye held guilt and remorse, but something far more calculating lurked beneath. In his current state, Shinseyo needed the Song family's backing to protect what was rightfully his within the Shin household. Chin-ku weaponized Shinseyo's love to wound him, and now he seeks to exploit my affection to manipulate the Song family. Among us, love has become nothing but a blade. Brother Seo, where's my present? My question caught Seo off guard. It took him several seconds to realize it was my birthday today. I'm sorry Yao Yao, I haven't had time to prepare anything. Lying again. For the longest time, Shinseyo seemed to make a habit of lying to me. Before meeting Chinka, he swore he loved me, only to later claim I was just like a sister. At our wedding, he promised a lifetime of devotion, yet 6 years of marriage brought nothing but cold indifference, culminating in him pushing me into the ocean's depths to drown. And now this, jewelry he'd bought a month ago, my favorite pieces, while claiming he had nothing prepared. The lustrous pearl necklace complemented the girl's slender, porcelain neck perfectly, but Chin-ku had no fondness for pearls, or perhaps she simply disliked the giver. After putting on her act in front of Shinseyo, she promptly sold the necklace. It's alright, Seo, I'm not angry with you, but I've thought carefully about what you said. I must have mistaken my childhood affection and dependence on you for love. We'll always remain the friends who grew up together. My words drained all color from Shinseyo's face, his momentary calm shattered instantly. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. Brother Seo, I'll fetch the nurse to change your dressing. The 4-bag had run dry, and the replacement bottle had just been shattered. Ignoring Shinseyo's pleading gaze, I walked out of the ward, having spent too long in his presence. An overwhelming disgust churned within me. I needed fresh air before I ended up locked away too. 7. I strolled leisurely down the hospital corridor, pondering where Chin-ku could have fled. According to the officer in charge, the man escorting Chin-ku took a bullet during their escape, though the exact wound location wasn't clear. Police had set up surveillance at all medical facilities along their suspected escape route. It wouldn't be long before we tracked down Chin-ku and that man. Lost in thought, I suddenly heard a shrill argument coming from around the corner. Shinseyo's parents. With Seo in this state, as his father, you're not even concerned about your own son. Instead, you're scheming to bring those disgraceful matters into the Shin family. I've turned a blind eye to your reckless behavior in private, but if you dare to give away what rightfully belongs to Seo, forget about the joint projects between the Shin family and my parents' house. Let's see who'll keep your pathetic company afloat then. Shin Jifeng's brows knitted tightly. When one son proved useless, he simply switched to another, a choice he believed was justified, yet the company continued to decline under his leadership, forcing him to rely on his in-laws' support. To make matters worse, his wife was an impossible woman to deal with. In the end, Shin Jifeng could only sigh and suppress. For now, his thoughts of changing the family heir. With everything that's happened, I'm worried Seo's health might give out. The only reason I want to retire early is to come home sooner and spend more time with you and our child. Who could possibly challenge Seo for the Shin family fortune? He's our only son after all. Fang Yun didn't bite his excuses and simply warned her husband once more, not wanting a direct confrontation with the Shin couple. I took a detour that added extra minutes to my walk to the nurse's station. Just as I was about to speak, Shinseyo's room number flashed on the nurse station's call display. The nurses seemed to have received some alert too. A flood of staff rushed toward the room I'd just left. I trailed behind the crowd, watching the once quiet ward erupt into chaos as 2 officers dragged out a disheveled woman in nurse scrubs, wild-haired, face contorted. It was Chin-ku. Chin-ku's hands were smeared with blood, her body writhing in agony, yet she kept laughing like a madwoman. Shinseyo, you'll pay for Jin's life with your own. Every last one of you Shins deserves to die. No one expected that bullet to be fatal. The man died on the run, sacrificing himself to conceal their trail and buy Chin-ku a chance to escape. Even more shocking was Chin-ku abandoning his escape, disguising himself and doubling back to the hospital. Chin-ku was taken away. The Shin family would never let her off the hook. Doctors and nurses rushed about the hospital room, desperately working to stop the bleeding. I stole a glance. The dagger had plunged into Shinseyo's chest, staining his blue and white hospital gown crimson. Shinseyo's deathly pale face stood in stark contrast to the vivid red, his stillness suggesting he might already be gone. Shinseyo was rushed into the operating room for emergency treatment, as Shinseyo's mother, Fanyin, wept near collapse outside the OR, while her husband stood coldly beside her. His expression numb and almost indifferent, even more relaxed than during their earlier argument. After the prolonged surgery, Shinseyo's life was saved, but he fell into a deep coma. If Mr. Shin doesn't wake within 2 weeks, the chances of recovery become slim. The doctor carefully chose the word slim, but in reality, there was no hope. Shinseyo's mother had always been a strong-willed woman, but this devastating news nearly broke her. She kept vigil at the hospital every day, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. Nearly everyone believed Shinseyo would never wake again, destined to remain in that hospital bed until his final breath. I thought so too, which is why when I saw Shinseyo at my own engagement party, I nearly mistook him for a ghost. 8. In the 3rd year of Shinseyo's coma, I got engaged. My fiancé wasn't from Jincheng's wealthy elite, but someone I genuinely loved. Peiyu ran a dessert shop that I stumbled into once, and instantly fell for its delicate sweetness. Peiyu always adorns his exquisite desserts with fresh flowers, from orange jasmine to astilbe, and eventually crimson roses. Staring at the oversized blueberry mousse and the dewdrop-kissed red rose on my plate, I couldn't help glancing toward Peiyu standing nearby. When our eyes met, Peiyu made no attempt to conceal the tenderness in his gaze. He stiffened slightly, trying to maintain composure, but a telltale blush soon spread across his fair, handsome features. Unlike Shinseyo's pretense, gentleness was Peiyu's true nature. Peiyu's proactive courtship and my lack of resistance sparked our romance. Later, I discovered those floral arrangements on the dining table were hand-picked daily by him at Tianjin's finest florist before opening his shop. If I failed to show up and the flowers wilted, he'd make another trip to replace them. Those blossoms were his silent love language, his patient vigil since dawn. 9. Our engagement banquet with Peiyu was packed with guests, many of whom knew about my past with Shinseyo, so when Shinseyo showed up, the crowd erupted in murmurs. They whispered among themselves, speculating when he'd woken up and why he'd come today. Shinseyo appeared still wearing his blue and white hospital gown, as if he'd just bolted from the medical ward. "Qingyao, you're getting engaged." Shinseyo's voice was hoarse, his gaze burning into me. Peiyu beside me gently squeezed my hand and stepped in front of me. "May I ask what business you have with my fiancé?" Peiyu was uncharacteristically short-tempered, his gaze locked on Shinseyo with unshakable wariness. "Your fiancé." Shinseyo's emotions flared violently as he grabbed Peiyu by the collar, fist raised. "Qingyao is my wife." Shinseyo's furious punch was effortlessly caught by Peiyu, having spent 3 years bedridden. Despite round-the-clock professional care, his body had become far frailer than before. With a crippled leg and injured eye, Peiyu barely needed to exert any force before Shinseyo collapsed onto the ground. Seeing her son fall, Fanyin finally rushed out from where she'd been hiding in the crowd. When she tried to help him up, Shinseyo violently shoved her away. The crowd's murmurs grew louder. No one had expected Shinseyo to actually lose his mind over love today. They'd all witnessed how devoted I'd once been to him. Nowadays, many spectators are speculating whether I've taken back my old flame and abandoned the new one. Amidst the crowd's clamor, I stepped out from behind Peiyu. Shinseyo's gaze instantly locked onto me, desperately searching for any emotion beyond indifference on my face. Even pity would suffice. "Shinseyo, you must still be disoriented from waking up. We're nothing more than childhood neighbors. There's never been anything between us." My resolute voice rang out clearly, reaching every ear in the room. "Qingyao, we truly are husband and wife. We were married." Shinseyo seemed on the verge of breaking down, but I cut off whatever he was about to say. "Thank you all for attending my engagement banquet with Peiyu today. There's one final ceremony we'd like you to witness." I took out the ring I'd prepared in advance and firmly slid it onto Peiyu's middle finger. Far from being upset, Peiyu was beaming with joy. Peiyu carefully retrieved the engagement ring from his pocket, gently slipped it onto my finger, then gazed at me intently, his eyes brimming with adoration. Finally, Peiyu pressed a kiss to my lips and announced happily, "Yao Yao and I will be married in 3 months. We'd love for everyone to come celebrate with us." With that, Peiyu tried to pull me home. "Yao Yao, I made an engagement cake at home, a new flavor just for you to taste." Just as Peiyu and I were about to get in the car, Shinseyo, who had somehow caught up, stopped us. "Qingyao, I need to talk to you, alone." I agreed. Shinseyo and I walked about 10 paces away from the car. "Let's talk here. I don't want Peiyu to worry about me." I turned back and saw Pei Yu watching me. A flicker of embarrassment crossed Shen Xiu's face. Qing Yao, you may not believe it, but we've been married for 6 years. You're my beloved wife, beloved. You're the first man to call the wife he personally threw into the ocean beloved. Shen Xiu, who had been about to explain further, froze in place. You drowned me to be reborn, and you, how did you die? That's why I agreed to talk with Shen Xiu. If he'd lived peacefully in his past life, he wouldn't be standing here today. Qing Ke lied to me. It wasn't her who was terminally ill, it was Nian Jin, with his extended sentence. Nian Jin will die in prison without proper treatment. Qing Ke begged me to save him, but I refused, so he lured me to the rooftop. But Qing Yao, my love for you is real. I was just too obsessed with believing every feeling I had for you was hatred. The moment I gave the order, I regretted it. I love you. I wanted to bring you back, but you were gone, nowhere to be found. Shen Xiu wept uncontrollably. It was the first time I'd heard him say I love you, just as nauseating as I'd expected. You love me. What about Qing Ke? To love 2 people at once. Shen Xiu, you're truly remarkable. If someone keeps getting hurt by the same person, she might be kind, foolish, or weak. But the other one, pure evil. Everything happening to you now is exactly what you deserve. I won't be your pawn anymore. It's not manipulation. Qing Yao, I've genuinely fallen for you. Shen Xiu must be truly out of his mind. I can't be bothered to waste words on him. The cake's frosting will collapse if we delay any longer. 10. I thought after our last conversation, when Shen Xiu learned about my past life memories, he'd finally stop pestering me, but to my surprise, he's clung to Pei Yu and me like some stubborn adhesive plaster. Qing Yao, no matter what happens, I'll never let go in this lifetime. You were my wife before, and you always will be. Qing Yao. After all these years of your affection, you wouldn't just give up on me, would you? You're still holding a grudge, that's all. Qing Yao, you can't marry anyone else. I'm the one who's meant to marry you. Could you find it in your heart to forgive me one more time? After Pei Yu's shop got vandalized, Shen Xiu showed up in front of me and spewed all this disgusting nonsense. Pei Yu was fuming and about to throw hands, but I stepped between them. Shen Xiu's face lit up with smug delight. He thought I was protecting him, never realizing I was actually shielding Pei Yu's precious face. Hold your punches. If we bruise that face, how are we supposed to take wedding photos tomorrow? Pei Yu always heeded my words. His clenched fist slowly uncurled and dropped to his side. But here, this is where Pei Yu and I met, fell in love, and built our life together. That's exactly why Shen Xiu wants to tear it all down. I'll always cherish every moment with you. As for this place, let's wait until after we're married, then I'll help you redecorate it together. Alright. Pei Yu let out a small, wounded sound before nuzzling into my arms like a dejected golden retriever. I soothingly patted Pei Yu's fluffy head, but when my eyes met Shen Xiu's, my face twisted with undisguised irritation and disgust. The distance in your attitude pierced Shen Xiu's heart like an ice dagger. Shen Xiu, you claim to have plunged into that sea, then you must know the helplessness and suffocation of drowning in mine. I'll never forget that agony, and I'll never stop hating you. My hatred for Shen Xiu runs so deep that even after 6 years of accumulated grievances, I refuse to vent them at him now. Those were the clearest words I could muster. Any more conversation with him would turn my stomach. Heaven gave me a second chance not to repeat past mistakes. Besides, Shen Xiu was never husband material in my eyes, just a despicable murderer. 11. Shen Xiu never showed his face again after that day, not for lack of trying. The Shen family had him completely shackled. The Song family snatched Shen's biggest contract. With their business already declining, this deal was Shen Group's lifeline, but the terms Song offered were beyond Shen's reach. Meanwhile, another major incident struck the Shen family. Shen Jifeng became paralyzed. The lifelong scoundrel was rushing to meet his mistress when an out-of-control truck plowed straight into him. Whether accident or foul play, nobody cared. After stabilizing his condition, doctors suggested sending Shen abroad for better treatment. Fang Yun took one look at her drooling husband who could only roll his eyes in the hospital bed, and refused. My husband's ancestral legacy is here, the Shen family roots are here. He's going nowhere. Perhaps only at this moment did those 2 people outside the operating room finally understand each other's feelings. The day before the wedding, I made time to visit the prison. Qing Ke, that once beautiful girl, was now emaciated beyond recognition. The exposed skin on her hands still bore unhealed scars, likely Feng Yan's handiwork. In my past life, I'd resented Qing Ke somewhat. I'd been angry that my decade-long bond with Shinseo couldn't compare to some girl who appeared out of nowhere. But I'd forgotten, Shinseo had walked toward Chinka step by step himself. From beginning to end, Chinka never truly did anything to hurt me. I know prison life's been hard on you, let me help. A wave of shame washed over me. For years I'd harbored this inexplicable resentment toward Chinka, blaming her for my misfortunes. Only now, having let go of that grudge, could I see she was just another victim of cruel fate. Chinka seemed taken aback by my offer, but managed a faint smile as she declined. Thank you, but please don't trouble yourself. Could you just tell me what day it is today? The 9th day of the 6th month. Around this same time 3 years ago, she and Yenjin's crew kidnapped Shinseo. That was the moment our fates diverged at this crossroads. Soon now, Miss Song, may I ask for one more favor? Go on. Ajin rests in the second small town beyond those mountains. There's an orphanage there. I built his grave on the little slope beside it. When I die, could you arrange for someone to bring me back to Ajin? The perpetual emptiness in Chinka's eyes softened with nostalgia. Alright, thank you. You're married. Chinka noticed the ring on my finger, her expression twisting with conflict. We're getting married tomorrow. We've known each other for 2 years. He's truly a wonderful man. Chinka's expression relaxed again. Congratulations. The next day, Peiyu and I held our wedding as planned. My parents kept a close eye on every arriving guest, terrified the Shin family might be plotting something to ruin this important day for me. But despite all precautions, an anonymous letter still found its way to my dressing room. As if anticipating my reluctance to open it, the letter lay bare on the table without any envelope. The handwriting was unmistakably Shinseo's. Qingyao. I never imagined the day would come when I'd attend your wedding to someone else, even knowing you'd hate me more. I still came here determined to ruin this ceremony, but when I arrived, I recognized everything, the decorations, every detail chosen to your taste. Long ago, you once poured your heart into preparing such a wedding for me too. Back then, because of Qin Ku, I was never husband material, and the man I've become now, I'm even less worthy of being yours. I can't let you become an unhappy bride again on such an important day. Coming into this world, I thought heaven had given me a chance to make amends, but in truth, it was to make me live with the sins of my past. When I try to recall those 6 years of marriage, all I remember are my cold words and your heartbreak. I've always wronged you, ruined your entire previous life, and now I dared to cling to you again in this one. You were right not to choose me, Qingyao. I hope you never meet someone as wretched as me in your future. The dressing room door knocked. The bridesmaid came to remind the bride it was time to walk down the aisle. I tore the letter to shreds and tossed it where trash belongs. As I walked down the aisle in my flowing wedding dress, Peiyu's eyes were already red with tears before the officiant even spoke. 2 other loud sobs came from my parents in the crowd. Aside from those 3 crying a bit excessively, the wedding went smoothly without any hiccups until the very end. The spectators who came hoping for drama left disappointed when nothing juicy happened, and that lurking gaze from the shadows finally disappeared. Word soon spread through the circle that the recently recovered young master of the Shin family was leaving for abroad. Shinseo might be going for leg treatment, to resume his interrupted studies, or perhaps never to return. Fang Yun left with the son she'd doted on all her life. As for Shin Jifeng, the family fortune had been liquidated by Fang Yun. Before their departure, his wife and son called all his mistresses, yet when the time came, not a single person showed up. Left with no choice, Fang Yun hired a caretaker for him. She'd pay the bills but wouldn't bother checking in. Extra, Qin Ke died shortly after being imprisoned. She took her own life by smashing her head against the wall. In life's final moments, memories truly flash before one's eyes like an unspooling reel. She saw Yanjin again. Qin Ke grew up as a fierce orphan in the institution. When bullied, she'd fight back twice as hard. Malnourished for years, Qin Ke's frail frame doomed her to being pinned down in most fights. That day, she got into another brawl, this time over an egg. Outnumbered, Qin Ke smashed the egg violently against the ground and stomped on it with all her might. The clean egg now lay ruined in the filthy mud, utterly inedible. The furious crowd closed in, ready to beat Qin Ke to a pulp. With no time to grab a weapon, Qin Ke racked her brains for the least painful way to take the beating, but the blows never came. The new boy from the orphanage chased them off wielding a brick. Qin Ke vaguely remembered this strikingly handsome boy. Nian Jin, was it? Unlike those street punks, Nian Jin was slightly older and actually treated Qin Ke like a girl. With Nian Jin's ruthless reputation, nobody dared mess with Qin Ke when she was around him. Qin Ke still offered to share her food with Nian Jin, though he'd always refuse. Not only did Nian Jin decline Qin Ke's food, he also refused the milk donated by the Shen family. In the end, Qin Ke drank both glasses of milk herself, completely baffled why Nian Jin would dislike something so wonderful. The Shen family's donations to this orphanage were just for polishing their public image. Qin Ke saw nothing wrong with that, as long as her belly was full. What did it matter whether their kindness was genuine? But when Nian Jin later explained his hatred for the Shens, she too came to despise those sweet, fragrant glasses of milk. Unlike Qin Ke, Nian Jin wasn't a child born to be abandoned. He had a mother who adored him, and 7 truly blissful years. Shen Xiu's whisper carried over the sea breeze, crystal clear in my ears. Qin had no say in the matter. She was bound and delivered to that man's chamber. The man was married. When his wife discovered her husband of less than a month was already philandering, she stormed to Nian Jin's mother. After beating her to a pulp, she banished the woman from Jincheng without a penny in compensation, so Nian Jin's mother had to start doing odd jobs just days after giving birth. Without proper rest, the mother and son barely scraped by, but over time, accumulated health issues eventually broke her body down. Nian Jin harbored no hatred toward anyone except that lawless bastard Shen and his unreasonable wife. When Qin Ke was 12, 15-year-old Nian Jin left the orphanage on his own. Wait for me. Once I make enough money out there, I'll come back for you. After Nian Jin left, Qin Ke clung to his promise, waiting day after day. 2 years later, Nian Jin did return for her. Qin Ke left with him. Nian Jin seemed to have made some real money, but his body bore countless new scars. He enrolled Qin Ke in the best schools and showered her with everything a girl her age could desire. He never dismissed Qin Ke's preferences. Whatever caught her fancy, he'd move heaven and earth to obtain. Under his care, Qin Ke flourished, and his blood-soaked days were nearly over, until his superiors dropped a catastrophic mess in his lap. A loan he guaranteed went south, and the final settlement left him liable for a staggering 9 million. Qin Ke's suicide attempt was finally discovered. Rushed to emergency care, her blood continued to trail behind her the entire way. She seemed to see Nian Jin again, the version who'd boldly confronted Shen Xiu and first raised his voice at her, and the blood-soaked Nian Jin who'd urged her to flee. Story 2. After my uncle died in a car accident, my cousin suffered severe mental trauma and came to my home to recuperate. She fell in love with my boyfriend, and everyone told me to give him up for her. Even my boyfriend said, "Euro. She's already so pitiful. Why are you making things difficult for her?" Later, I was also in a car accident. While I was being resuscitated, my cousin sobbed in my boyfriend's arms. So many people care when she dies, yet no one notices me when I'm alive. I died in the operating room, and my cousin took my guaranteed admission spot and married my boyfriend. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time when my cousin had just arrived at my home. Bitch, you killed my dad. And now you're stealing my boyfriend too. The moment I opened my eyes, a tremendous force pushed me against the wall. Mo Kuer was holding scissors, about to slash my face. I instinctively resisted, pushing Moker away. The scissors flew out of her hand as she staggered back several steps before tumbling down the stairs. Her hand was scraped, blood dripping down. Moker simply sat on the floor, covering her face and sobbing uncontrollably. The surrounding classmates stopped and curiously turned to look in this direction. Song Euro, what are you doing? The person rushing over is my boyfriend Jian Yu. He helped Mo Kuer up from the ground. Are you okay? Following closely behind Jian Yu was my best friend Tang Xian. Seeing Jian Yu like this, she was furious. Jian Yu, are you blind? Mo Kuer was the one who grabbed scissors first, trying to slash Song Euro's face. Whose boyfriend are you really? Moker can't tell, but you should know better. Perhaps Tang Xian's voice was too loud, as Moker seemed startled, shrinking into Jian Yu's arms and crying even harder. Jian Yu frowned. Tang Xian, you know about Moker's condition. After her father's sudden death, she developed severe psychological issues. How could you provoke her at a time like this? Don't you have even basic compassion? As if sensing protection, Moker timidly tugged at Jian Yu's sleeve and stubbornly repeated, "You're my boyfriend." Jian Yu patted Mo Kuer's head and said in a soothing tone, Mo Kuer was satisfied. She glared at me and said triumphantly, "If I see you talking to Jian Yu again, I won't be polite." Jian Yu sighed. He gave me an apologetic look, then scooped Mo Kuer up in his arms. "Your hand is injured. I'll take you to the hospital first." 2. How familiar this scene was. In my past life, I also watched Jiangyu and Emokura leave like this, back then. Just like Tang Xian now, I was furious but utterly helpless. After all, Emokura was truly pitiful. My aunt passed away while giving birth to her, and she was raised by her uncle, who then died in a car accident during her senior year of high school. As a result, Emokura suffered severe psychological trauma and began experiencing intermittent episodes. To take care of her, my mother brought her to live with us. At first, I gave Emokura everything she wanted. When she asked for my room or my clothes, I agreed without hesitation, until one day, Jiangyu came to visit our home. He's the heartthrob of our school and also the young master of the Jiang group. Emokura fell in love with him at first sight. Sister, please give Jiangyu to me. I rejected Emokura, but after that, whenever Jiangyu was mentioned, she would become somewhat hysterical. She started believing that Jiangyu was her boyfriend, and that I was the other woman trying to steal him away. Whenever she saw Jiangyu going on a date with me, she would cry bitterly and even cut herself with a small knife. Later on a rainy night, when Jiangyu and I were watching a movie outside, she frantically called me, saying she had been kidnapped. I rushed over in a state of panic and got into a car accident on the way. During the emergency treatment, my soul seemed to detach from my body and float outside the operating room. Moker was sobbing while curled up in Jiangyu's arms. I was just joking. I never thought she'd take it seriously. If Sister Euro died, so many people would remember her. But while I'm alive, I only suffer. No one has ever cared about me. Jiangyu couldn't help but hold her tighter. Who says no one cares? You still have me. After my death, Moker's mental state seemed to improve significantly all at once. She recognized my parents as her own, took over my guaranteed admission spot, and went to Tsinghua University with Jiangyu. During Qingming Festival, she burned Joss paper for me and my uncle. Dad, cousin, thank you for making this possible. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't even have gotten into a junior college. How could I be where I am today? At that moment, my soul was suddenly awakened. Moker was never ill. It was all just an elaborate scheme. A clear female voice came from beside me. Do you want to start over? Without hesitation, I replied, yes. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Emokura first transferred to our school. Watching Jiangyu about to carry Emokura away, I suddenly strode forward and said in a deep voice, Jiangyu, we're breaking up. Jiangyu's expression changed instantly. He frowned and said, Euro, don't be rash, I'm serious. I said calmly, if you want to take care of Kura, then take good care of her. We're over. After speaking, I turned and walked away without looking back, ignoring Jiangyu desperately calling my name behind me. 3. After school, I called Tang Xian to the coffee shop. Does your father know someone in the traffic police department? I want to investigate the truth about my uncle's car accident. My uncle was an experienced truck driver. That day, everything seemed completely normal, yet he drove straight into a bridge pier. After hearing me out, Tang Xian got goosebumps. Are you suggesting his death might not be accidental? I remained silent. Uncle was a good man, not particularly capable, but fiercely independent. My family had offered financial help multiple times, but he always politely declined. After his death, Emokura was adopted by my family, moved into a spacious villa, and began living a life with chauffeurs and maids at her service. Everything is just speculation for now, but recalling the expression on Emokura's face when she mourned her father in her previous life, I can't help but think the worst. Tang Xian said it was no problem to leave it to her. She had just left when my phone rang. It was Jiangyu. Euro, where are you? Let's talk. I had no intention of meeting Jiangyu, but he still managed to find this cafe, relying on his familiarity with me. Euro, don't be angry. Holding my favorite pistachio cream puff, he sat beside me. You know, the only one I love is you. In my past life, I would have softened upon hearing such words, but now I just smiled coldly. Holding Moker in your arms while loving me in your heart, double-minded as ever, truly worthy of young Master Jiang. Jiangyu grew somewhat angry. I was just acting with Moker to stabilize her emotions. You're her own cousin, seeing her so ill. Don't you feel compelled to do something? Doctors exist for her illness. Why should I need to do anything? I waved my hand. Enough, Jiangyu. Breaking up is best for both of us. I've already called the hotel to cancel the engagement venue preparations. Jiangyu was stunned, staring at me in disbelief. Are you serious? He immediately glared at me angrily. Son Euro, engagement is a very serious matter. There's no need to joke about it just because you're upset with me. It's no wonder Jiangyu didn't believe it. After all, I had always loved him so much. wholeheartedly determined to go to Tsinghua University with him. With every plan for the future filled with thoughts of him, but now I don't want any of it anymore. One last time, I'm not joking, nor am I being petty. I met his gaze calmly. Breaking up, it's that simple. Jiang Yu growled in a low voice. I don't agree. Before his words faded, a figure rushed into the cafe. Mo Kur grabbed the coffee from the table and splashed it on me with lightning speed. Bitch, she screamed. Before I could retaliate, she swayed and collapsed into Jiang Yu's arms. Jiang Yu held Mo Kur protectively with one hand while gripping me tightly with the other, his face drenched in sweat. Amid the chaos, I glanced behind the coffee shop counter. The boss secretly gave me an okay hand gesture. The corners of his mouth curled up silently. The owner of this coffee shop is my friend, and I just signaled him to turn on the camera. The entire episode of Mo Kur's outburst was recorded. This is my backup plan: prison or mental hospital. I must send her to one of them. 4. The day's farce ended with Jiang Yu sending Mo Kur to the hospital. I went home alone and found no one there. Apparently, my parents received the call and went to the hospital to see Mo Kur. I sat in the unlit living room, quietly pondering for a while. In truth, my parents love me very much, but they are also extremely strict with me, always holding me to the highest standards. When I was little and had conflicts with other children, they would always make me apologize first, not to mention that this time, Mokur appeared as the complete underdog in everyone's eyes, so whenever there was any conflict between me and her, they would always superficially take her side more. This time when they went to the hospital, Mokur must have played the victim again, probably throwing a lot of mud at me. Sure enough, a little over an hour later, Mom and Dad came home with Mokur. Mom was supporting the weak Mokur, while Dad's face was as cold as ice. Euro, come here, Dad called me. I clearly saw that behind him, Mokur appeared to be weakly nestling in Mom's arms, but in reality, a barely noticeable smile had crept onto the corners of her lips. Did you provoke Kur again? Dad's voice carried anger. You know perfectly well Kur is sick, yet you embarrassed her in public. Euro, when did you become someone so devoid of empathy? Look, Mokur is twisting the truth again. Clearly she was the one who rushed in and splashed coffee on me, yet now it's turned into me embarrassing her. If this were my past life, I would desperately defend myself, trying to prove I didn't do such a thing, but in this lifetime, I know self-justification is useless. What works is going crazy together with Mokur. Isn't it just pretending to be sick? If you can do it, so can I. Lowering my head silently, I said in a pained voice, I'm sorry, Dad, I know I've let you down. Then, I took out a thick document folder, emptied it, revealing a diagnosis report provided by a psychological counselor and a completed leave of absence application form. My parents' expressions changed abruptly, and even Mokur couldn't help but straighten her posture. My eyes were red and swollen as I helplessly pinched my own arm. Lately, I can't control my emotions at all, and I'm completely unable to focus when studying. If this continues, I feel like I might end up taking my own life. Parents have limited energy, they can't take care of both me and Kur at the same time. As the older sister, I should give way to her. So let Kur take the college entrance exam this year, I'll take a gap year. As soon as I finished speaking, Mom was the first to panic. This won't do. Dad was slightly calmer than Mom. He pulled her into the bedroom. The two lowered their voices, yet fragments of their conversation still reached us intermittently. Mom's voice trembled with tears. It's all my fault. I only thought Kur needed care, so I brought her home, but I never imagined it would affect Euro too. Dad comforted her. Don't blame yourself yet. What's important now is finding a proper solution. In the living room, Mokur glared at me with resentment. She picked up the psychological counseling diagnosis form I had placed on the table. Song Euro, when did you go to the counseling center? This must be fake. I curled my lips slightly and whispered, you've never even been to a psychiatric department, just running your mouth. At least I have a fake certificate. The next second, our parents pushed the door open. I immediately put on a helpless expression. Please, stop blaming me. I'm willing to give Jiang Yu and our parents to you. If that's still not enough, I'm ready to disappear from this world forever. Euro. What are you saying? Mom rushed over and tightly grasped my hand. You must never think like that. Dad then came before Kur and said gently, here's the thing, we've discussed it and decided that our family has another house in the southern part of the city, which is closer to school. Kur, why don't you move there first? We'll hire a caregiver to look after you. Kur's eyes widened. Uncle, are you abandoning me? She immediately began to panic. Uncle, please. You're my only family left, don't cast me aside." Both parents comforted her together, their tone extremely gentle but their stance unshakably firm. I sobbed quietly on the side, but inwardly sneered. In my past life, after I died in a car accident, my parents were utterly heartbroken. At that time, Emokur volunteered to become their daughter and care for them in their old age. Unaware of the truth, they agreed, but now, I'm still alive. Parents always favor their own flesh and blood. They couldn't just stand by and watch Emokur drive me to depression and suicide. Just like that, Emokur was sent away from our home. She went around school playing the victim, claiming I kicked her out of the house. Classmates started calling me a wicked sister for treating a poor orphaned girl so cruelly. I couldn't even be bothered to respond. The college entrance exam was what truly mattered. These rumors meant nothing. After high school graduation, most people would never see each other again anyway. Jianyu also confronted me. "Kiki cried to me half the night yesterday. Was it really necessary to treat her like that?" I buried myself in solving analytic geometry problems without even looking up. "Jianyu, we've already broken up. You don't seem to have any standing to criticize me." "I never agreed to break up," Jianyu said resolutely. "The engagement is a matter between two families. How can you end it with just one sentence?" "Well, that's interesting." I put down my pen, looked up, and smiled meaningfully. "So you're saying you're still my boyfriend? Since you're still my boyfriend, can you explain why Emokur was crying with you half the night? A man and woman alone together late at night. Who do you think is being more inappropriate here?" Jianyu was choked with anger. "I only feel sympathy for Emokur. She's your cousin and also my classmate." I smiled without saying anything. "Actually, there's a recording in my phone. It was during Jianyu's gathering with his friends when one of them recorded it and sent it to me. In the recording, whether Jianyu was drunk or not, he said in a smug voice, 'Have you all watched The Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber? Don't you think Song Yuro is just like Zhao Min, and Emokur resembles Xiao Zhao?' I sneered. What era is this? Still trying to play the red and white rose game? It's just that right now. I don't want to keep arguing with Jianyu. Verbal disputes are useless. The more you argue with rotten people, the deeper you sink. What I want to seize is tangible benefits." 5. But Jianyu is like a piece of chewed gum. Once it sticks, you can't shake it off. The school organized alumni from Tsinghua and Peking University to come back and give lectures. With the top 30 students in the grade attending, coincidentally, Jianyu happened to be sitting right next to me. Before the meeting started, he stopped me, seeming somewhat hesitant to speak. "There's something I don't know how to bring up." "Then don't." I tried to walk past him, but he blocked my way. Jianyu gritted his teeth and finally spoke up. "Could you give your guaranteed admission spot to Emokur?" "No." I didn't even bother to lift my eyelids as I tried to shake Jianyu off. Jianyu grew anxious, gripping my wrist tightly as he forcibly pulled me to the side of the corridor. "Yuro, listen to me. Saving a life is more meritorious than building a 7-story pagoda. Right now, you're the only one who can save Kur." Under my scrutinizing gaze, Jianyu haltingly recounted the entire incident. It turned out Emokur had stirred up trouble again. She faked a suicide in the bathtub, then called Jianyu, who broke down the door at the last moment before she lost consciousness and saved her. After enduring this melodrama straight out of an 80s tragic romance novel, Emokur tearfully told Jianyu that if she couldn't attend the same school as him, she would die. As everyone knows, both Jianyu and I have been recommended for admission to Tsinghua University. As for Emokur's grades, the gap to get into Tsinghua is probably about 400 points short. "That's great, Jianyu," I nodded. "Since Emokur is determined to attend the same school as you, and you really want to make her wish come true, why don't?" Under Jianyu's expectant gaze, I smiled at him and said, "You tutor her. Although there's only 1 month left until the college entrance exams, perhaps heaven will be moved by your kindness and create a miracle." I turned and walked away, but Jianyu, furious, blocked my path in one swift step. "Song Yuro, do you even hear the nonsense you're saying? In Emokur's current state, how can she possibly take the college entrance exams normally? If you don't want to take the exams but still want to get into Tsinghua, then let's all stop studying and learn how to play the victim instead." I rolled my eyes. "Please, just move aside. I need to attend the lecture." I finally shook off Jianyu and strode forward with long steps. "Behind me," he said with a sinister tone, "Song Yuro, don't think I don't know. Her father's death was your doing." The words were so shocking that I couldn't help but stop in my tracks, turning back in astonishment. "Kur told me everything. That day, It was you who said you wanted to eat free-range chicken soup. Her father had just returned from driving and went out again to deliver the chicken to you. He was fatigued while driving, which led to the accident. Perhaps my expression was too unpleasant. Jiang Yu softened his tone, of course. I know you didn't do it on purpose, but what's done is done. Kuer has become like this now, and you bear some responsibility. You should atone to Kuer. I remained silent as Jiang Yu stepped forward, trying to embrace me. I know you don't believe me, but I truly only feel pity for Kuer. She's your sister, and I treat her as one too, but in my heart, the one I love has always been you. Before Jiang Yu could finish speaking, a cold voice interrupted him. Classmate. You've been blocking this path for almost 10 minutes. When are you going to move? Jiang Yu and I turned our heads together. A girl in a white shirt stood not far away, with gold-rimmed glasses hanging on her chest, hands in her pockets, her expression somewhat aloof. I recognized her. She was one of the speakers for this lecture, Senior Su Xiaoran, who went to Peking University. For some reason, the moment I heard her voice, I suddenly froze. When I was reborn, a voice whispered in my ear. Do you want to start over? That voice was exactly the same as Su Xiaoran's from just moments ago. Bro, this isn't working. The girl is clearly annoyed with you, yet you're still pestering her here. Behind Su Xiaoran, a tall young man sauntered up with a carefree attitude. His face had an ageless quality, blending a man's mature features with a youth's clear-eyed freshness. A name tag pinned to his chest read, Alumni, Ji Zhao. In that instant, fragmented memories suddenly flooded my mind like scattered puzzle pieces. A strong intuition tells me I've seen these two people before. 6. Thanks to Su Xiaoran and Ji Zhao, Jiang Yu couldn't continue pestering me. As soon as the lecture ended, I immediately bypassed the crowd and approached Su Xiaoran. Senior, could I have your contact information? Su Xiaoran studied me for a long time, then smiled. Didn't you get directly admitted to Tsinghua? I'm from Peking University. You should go find your Tsinghua seniors. I hesitated for a long time before finally asking tactfully, have we met before? The moment I spoke, Su Xiaoran's expression changed. Ji Zhao, who had followed and now stood behind her, also showed a subtle shift in expression. At school, Su Xiaoran asked with apparent calmness. I mustered the courage to shake my head. No, not at school, it was with people coming and going around us. I didn't dare speak too directly, so I hinted vaguely, by a riverside, with red lotuses on the opposite bank. One of you was on a boat, the other on the bridgehead. Before I could finish speaking, both Su Xiaoran and Ji Zhao's expressions turned grave. You actually remembered, Su Xiaoran murmured softly. This probably means you'll face many more trials ahead. She tore off a sticky note, wrote down a string of numbers, and handed it to me. Here, this is my WeChat. After Su Xiaoran and Ji Zhao left, I added that WeChat account. The ID is very strange, called the Upstream Traveler. Before I could even say hello, a meme was thrown at me, followed by a few lines that gave me goosebumps. Whether a reborn person can survive depends on fate. Your current situation is very bad. You might die again. If there's danger, send a message to this WeChat. I held the phone, my fingertips trembling slightly. I've already avoided all the critical moments from my previous life. Could Moker have some new trick up her sleeve to kill me? 7. I locked myself in my room and thought it over carefully all night, then decided to adjust my strategy appropriately. So when Jiang Yu called me again, instead of hanging up as usual, I answered. Jiang Yu seemed surprised, then let out a long sigh. You finally stopped giving me the cold shoulder. I tried hard to suppress the urge to roll my eyes and said calmly, what's the matter? Jiang Yu said. It's my birthday party on Friday. All the classmates will be there. You'll come to celebrate with me, right? All the classmates will be there. I let out a silent scoff and asked, will Mokur be coming too? Jiang Yu's throat felt a bit dry. Well, if you don't want to. No, that's not what I meant. I'll go celebrate your birthday with you. Hanging up the phone, I smiled faintly. Mokur is quite something. She gets sick when told to study for college entrance exams, but miraculously recovers when invited to a party. But it's okay. I actually wanted to find an opportunity to observe her movements, so on Friday evening, I arrived on time for Jiang Yu's birthday party. The party was held in a private club's VIP room, with Jiang Yu naturally being the undisputed center of attention, surrounded by everyone. Mokur stood right beside him, clearly dressed up for the occasion with light makeup and wearing a Chanel suit. I narrowed my eyes slightly. That dress was mine. I had originally planned to wear this dress today, but couldn't find it in my closet. Even the housekeeper said she hadn't seen it. so I had to grab another set at the last minute. Never thought I'd see it on Mokur. The Jiang family is a prominent household. Jiang Yu's birthday banquet had networking undertones, with people from the business world constantly coming to toast the future young master. After toasting, they would glance at Mokur beside Jiang Yu, and Mokur would also greet them with a smile. I've long heard of Miss Song's excellence, and seeing her today truly lives up to her reputation. Our company has always been interested in collaborating with President Song, if possible. We hope Miss Song could put in a good word for us. This is the gift I prepared for Mrs. Song. Mokur smiled broadly, indicating she would deliver both the message and the gift, but before she could take the gift box, a hand reached out from the side and snatched it first. That hand was, of course, mine. Taking the gift box, I smiled and nodded in thanks to the giver. My mother loves this brand of face cream the most. I'll thank you on her behalf first. The guests froze, sizing me up before hesitantly asking, "You are Son Euro?" I extended my hand gracefully to shake hands and greet the other person. The guests were completely baffled. And this young lady is? Everyone's gaze fell upon Mokur. Obviously, apart from our schoolmates, everyone else had mistaken Mokur for me. After all, I'm the one engaged to Jiang Yu, and the one who should be standing beside him at today's birthday banquet is me. Clearly, Mokur has taken what doesn't belong to her. Before Mokur could introduce herself, I cut in, "Uncle, you came to celebrate Jiang Yu's birthday and likely wanted to send a gift to the Song family through me. Now that both purposes are accomplished, why bother about who anyone else is?" As soon as I finished speaking, Mokur's face instantly turned pale. The guest was also tactful. After all, he had favors to ask of my family, so he immediately chimed in, "Miss Song is absolutely right. I'm terribly sorry for mistaking you earlier," with such clear and eloquent speech. Miss Song is truly a lady of noble upbringing. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mokur so angry that her eyes turned red. She turned her head and ran out the door. That pitiful look was truly heartbreaking. I noticed Jiang Yu's expression filled with concern, clearly about to follow her. I grabbed him. "Fiancé, where are you going?" Jiang Yu angrily pushed my hand away. "Son Euro, is this really necessary? Mokur is also part of your family, since you hadn't arrived yet. She was just helping to receive gifts. Why must you make sarcastic remarks about her in front of so many strangers?" I sneered. "That's right, helping to receive gifts for me. Next, will she be helping to stand by your side, helping to cut the cake with you, and maybe even helping to marry you in my place?" Jiang Yu frowned deeply. "Euro, I always thought you were a generous and graceful girl. How could you become like this?" With that, he left me behind and chased after her alone. Everyone turned to look at me. They all saw how the Jiang family's crown prince had just abandoned his fiancée to chase after Mokur. Mokur, she must be feeling pretty smug, right? It's fine, let her enjoy her moment for a few days. After all, just moments ago, I had already grasped the clues I wanted to know. 8. That night, I received a text message from Mokur. Inside was a photo of Jiang Yu lying on the bed, clothes half removed, eyes slightly closed. "He's with you. But the one he truly loves is me. Son Euro, you still lost." I looked at my phone and let out a mocking laugh. Do you know how to truly crush someone's spirit? It's when they think they're just one step away from success, you kick them straight down from the clouds. So I opened WeChat and posted a moment's update visible only to Jiang Yu. The content was a large bouquet of roses, captioned with, "Thank you for the flowers, I love them." After posting this update, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb mode and fell straight asleep. The next day was a weekend. When I woke up, there were over a dozen missed calls on my phone, all from Jiang Yu. Opening WeChat, Jiang Yu had already sent several screens worth of messages. "Son Euro, who sent you those flowers? You're my fiancé, yet you're still being ambiguous with other men outside. What would your parents think if they knew? How ridiculous." Jiang Yu seems to eternally lack the capacity for self-reflection, strict with others, lenient with himself. From this perspective, he and Mokur are truly well matched, but now, he's finally experiencing this stinging pain too. This is my reasoning. No matter how many times I tell Jiang Yu to cancel the engagement, he'll only think I'm being petulant, but when there's a possibility I might fall for someone else, that's when he'll truly panic. When you're about to lose something, that thing suddenly becomes extraordinarily precious. Sure enough, after these few venting words, Jiang Yu quickly began to make amends. I admit it was wrong of me to leave you at the birthday banquet, but there were reasons for it. You should understand me, Euro. You'll never meet anyone who treats you better than I do. I deliberately didn't reply to these messages, intending to create a sense of crisis for Jiangyu. That night, Jiangyu waited outside my house holding roses the entire time. He even repeatedly questioned my housekeeper. Has any other guy come looking for Euro recently? I waited until the perfect moment before finally letting him in. He waited outside the door for over 2 hours. Normally, he would have stormed off long ago, but this time, Jiangyu showed no trace of impatience on his face, even feeling a hint of relief when I finally let him in. You still can't let go of me, right? He handed the bouquet of roses into my arms. Endless coldness welled up in my heart, yet a smile hung on my lips. Of course, the joy of regaining what was lost filled Jiangyu's heart, and he began repeatedly confirming every detail of the engagement ceremony with me. Meanwhile, to compete with that love rival, Jiangyu forced me to take photos of the roses he gave me, along with the rings on both our hands. Pressuring me to post another WeChat Moments update, I pretended to be reluctant. Oh, everyone will naturally find out at the engagement ceremony anyway. The more unwilling I appeared, the more insistent Jiangyu became. Not everyone will attend the engagement ceremony. You must post this WeChat Moments update. And so, seemingly coerced by Jiangyu, I posted this official relationship announcement on WeChat Moments. Very well, everything is within my expectations. Dear Imokur, what kind of mood are you in when you see this moment? If you want to take action, please do so as soon as possible. After all, the plan I've been weaving for so long is about to come to fruition. That night, after Jiangyu left, I made 3 phone calls. The first was to Su Xiaoran. I'd been frequently meeting her for coffee lately, and we'd become quite close friends. She sounded drowsy when answering, as if she was about to sleep. What do you want? Nothing. Just thought I should let you know since I stole your picture. Yes, that picture I posted on Moments for Jiangyu to see. The roses in it were actually sent by Su Xiaoran's boyfriend Ji Zhao. Su Xiaoran and I were eating out at the time. Ji Zhao had somehow offended her, but since he was out of town and couldn't apologize in person, he sent flowers instead to make amends. After hearing the whole story, Su Xiaoran was practically dying of laughter at Jiangyu's antics. But she quickly composed herself. By provoking Imokur like this, she might retaliate with extreme measures. Are you prepared for that? It's no wonder Su Xiaoran was concerned. According to her, those who are reborn defy the will of heaven, making them less likely to be favored by good fortune. But I just smiled and said, of course. After ending the conversation with Su Xiaoran, I made another call to my best friend Tang Xian. How's the progress on that matter I asked you to handle this morning? Half an hour later, I hung up the phone call with Tang Xian. Raising my hand to open Imokur's chat window, I stared at her profile picture. In this selfie, Imokur appeared so fragile, innocent, and charmingly pure, yet no one could imagine what kind of demon was hidden beneath this facade. I have many ways to make this demon die without a sound. But that's not enough. I want her exposed in broad daylight for all to see. Then reduced to ashes, never to be reborn. 9. The days that followed seemed peaceful and beautiful. All arrangements for Jiangyu and my engagement were finalized. The guest list was drawn up, and invitations were sent out. Since the Jiang family had corporate promotional tasks recently, they even arranged a live broadcast for the engagement banquet, leveraging the buzz around the Jiangsong Alliance to promote their company's upcoming new product. Theoretically speaking, it was quite unethical for the Jiang family to exploit our marriage for corporate advertising by using public resources for private gain. My parents weren't happy about it either, but I gently persuaded them. Live streaming allows more people to witness this engagement ceremony. It's a good thing. That's right, the more viewers, the happier I am. Soon, the day of the engagement banquet arrived, with 3 hours left until the ceremony. I finished my makeup and was ready to change into my gown before being picked up by the driver to head to the venue. I asked the nanny, "Where's the evening gown?" The nanny handed me a glass of water. "It's downstairs, I'll go get it now." "Have some water first, miss." 10 minutes later, the nanny pushed open the door. The room was completely silent. I lay on the ground with my eyes tightly shut, a fallen glass beside my hand, half its water drunk, the other half spilled on the floor. The nanny approached, tried nudging me, and called my name. I showed no response, clearly in a deep coma. The nanny let out a long sigh, picked up her phone, and sent a text message. Moments later, the bedroom door was pushed open again, and the person who entered was Imokur. She nudged me with the tip of her shoe and said coldly, "Song Euro, so you've come to this." Then, Imokur took out an envelope filled with money from her bag and shoved it to the nanny. "Leave immediately." No matter who asks you later, just say you know nothing. The nanny looked nervous. Miss Kaur, what are you going to do? None of your business, Mokur said coldly. The nanny still couldn't rest easy. Please don't do anything too extreme, or I'll be implicated too. Can you stop the nonsense? Mokur snapped irritably. Your son is still waiting for you at the hospital. The nanny didn't dare say anything more and hurried away with the money. Only Mokur and I remained in the room. She calmly removed the jewelry from me and adorned herself with it, then headed to the dressing room where she found the engagement dress I had prepared. Sis, you know what? I've always been jealous of you. We're children of the same pair of sisters, yet you live in a grand villa while I'm stuck in a rundown apartment building. You're about to marry into a wealthy family. Everyone calls you Mrs. Jiang, while I'm stuck with a bunch of small-time thugs. This isn't fair. Mo Kaur said while leisurely changing her clothes. After changing, she waited a moment longer until the roar of motorcycles sounded below, and a group of thuggish-looking men appeared downstairs. Mokur opened the door for them and briefly instructed, follow the plan, strip off their clothes, take photos, and wait for my message. Once you receive it, send the photos to me. 10. Mokur left. Several tall men surrounded me. After waiting for over 10 minutes, the leader of the thugs, probably thinking the time was right, lit a cigarette and pointed at me. Strip her naked. Immediately, a man approached me. However, the moment he approached me, I suddenly snapped my eyes wide open, kicking him square in the groin. I staggered back amidst his ear-splitting scream. The men instantly sensed something amiss, but before they could flank me, 2 figures emerged from behind the screen in my room. I adore the Song family's interior style, Ji Zhao remarked wistfully. Let's decorate our future home like this after we're married, shall we? Su Shaoran snorted coldly. Who said anything about marrying you? I was speechless. Can you two help me solve this crisis first before showing off your love? Before my words even finished, Ji Zhao had already sprung into action. He swiftly darted in front of a man and grabbed him by the collar. The man roared, "Where did this little brat come from?" Ji Zhao narrowed his eyes, clearly displeased. Disrespecting elders, I don't like that. With that, he single-handedly lifted the man and slammed him onto a nearby cabinet. The other 2 men exchanged glances, drew spring knives from their coats, and charged at Ji Zhao from both sides. Ji Zhao sighed. Fighting in ancient times was more interesting. Modern kids don't have any martial arts skills at all. With that, he disarmed both men barehanded, kicking one into the restroom and hurling the other straight out the second-floor window. The last remaining gang leader was utterly terrified. Instinctively, he knew he couldn't fight Ji Zhao. This young man's movements clearly weren't those of a normal person, so he set his sights on Su Shaoran standing not far away. Su Shaoran had the typical appearance of a top student good girl, white shirt, white skirt, looking every bit the fragile model student. Ji Zhao's voice immediately distorted, "Don't touch her." It was too late. The gang leader had already lunged at Su Shaoran, the sharp switchblade about to press against her neck. Su Shaoran calmly glanced at the thug, and in the next second, this model student raised the object in her hand, a brick. It smashed directly onto the thug's head. "I told you not to mess with her." Ji Zhao stood aside, sighing helplessly with his hands in his pockets. She doesn't know her own strength. The thug collapsed to the ground, bleeding from all 7 orifices. Su Shaoran took out his phone and handed it to me. Everything unfolded pretty much as you predicted. I smiled faintly. Just as Su Shaoran said, everything went according to my plan. As early as Jiang Yu's birthday banquet, I had already suspected that our family's nanny had been bribed by Mo Kaur. The reason was simple. The Chanel suit Mo Kaur wore that day. Apart from myself, only the nanny knew where it was kept. So I began quietly observing the nanny afterward and indeed discovered she was privately contacting Mo Kaur. After confirming this suspicion, I became extremely wary of the nanny's every word and action, never truly consuming any food or drink she handed me. I secretly took the nanny's phone when she wasn't paying attention. Sure enough, under my constant provocation, Mo Kaur decided to make her move on me today, so I contacted Su Shaoran and Ji Zhao in advance, asking them to set up an ambush at my place. "This phone must be the one you used to contact Mo Kaur, right?" I said to the gang leader. He was lying on the ground, pinned under Ji Zhao's foot. He raised his head and glared at me angrily without saying a word. "Mokur asked you to take nude photos of me, send them to her, and then she would publicly reveal them at the engagement ceremony. Am I right?" The gang leader still remained silent. "Resisting now is pointless. You trespassed into my home, drugged me, and intended to cause bodily harm. All of this is solid evidence. If you don't want to go to jail, then do as I say. I held the phone up to the gang leader's face. Unlock your phone. The gang leader turned his head away, ignoring me. Fingerprints should work too. Ji Zhao attempted to grab the gang leader's hand. However, the gangster did something no one expected. He stuck his thumb in his mouth and bit down hard, making it bleed profusely. In short, he wouldn't reveal the password. And he'd destroyed the fingerprint that could unlock the phone. Don't even think about impersonating me to contact Kaur, he shouted, his voice laced with menace and a hint of smugness. I lowered my gaze to study him. After a moment, I smiled faintly. So that's how it is. You weren't bribed. You genuinely care for her. The gang leader, having had his feelings exposed, turned his head away to avoid my gaze. I smiled. So that's how it is. These troublemakers were all quite young, and in their eyes, Mokar must have seemed like a pure, unblemished jasmine flower. Even if this jasmine flower made them commit heinous acts, it must have been because she was wronged first and had no other choice. In that case, this should be easy to handle. I took out my phone and pulled up the recording I had just made. Mokar's voice rang out clearly. You're about to marry into wealth. Everyone calls you Mrs. Jiang, and me, I'm surrounded by a bunch of lowlifes. If my future means marrying such low-quality men, I'd rather die. The voice was cold and merciless, yet unmistakably Mokar's. The gang leader's body jerked violently. He raised his head and stared fixedly at my phone, his eyes bloodshot. Got it, you like her so much, but she's never thought highly of you. You're just a stepping stone to be used. Once she steps over you to latch onto the Jiang family's young master, she'll toss you aside. Now, think again. Do you want to cooperate with me or not? 11. Mokar stood in the hall, watching the lavishly dressed guests. She swallowed hard, feeling inexplicably nervous. She took out her phone and sent a message to Shunzi. Is the video recorded? Send it over. Soon, a file was sent over. Mokar opened it but found it couldn't play properly. What's going on? It won't open. Shunzi's reply came quickly. It won't open on the phone, but aren't you going to connect to the big screen? The big screen can play it. A hint of unease rose in Mokar's heart, but she quickly suppressed this worry by force. Shunzi was the leader of these small-time hoodlums and also her biggest admirer. She had always promised Shunzi that once she scammed money from these rich people, she would marry him, so Shunzi obeyed her every word. If Shunzi says there's no problem, then there's no problem. So Mokar quietly approached the control panel. At this moment, the large screen was displaying some old photos of Jiang Yu and Song Yuro. With no one at the computer controlling the system, Mokar sat down and imported a video from her phone. Soon, all the guests would see Song Yuro's indecent video. Moreover, this engagement banquet was being live-streamed, meaning countless people would witness this scene. The Jiang family, being such a status-conscious clan, would never allow Song Yuro to set foot in their household again. Mokar imported the video and fiercely pressed the play button. 12. In the center of the auditorium, everyone turned their heads, drawn by the video that suddenly began playing on the large screen. With a frenzied smile, Mokar also turned her gaze toward the large screen. In the next second, her smile froze on her face. The video scene was set in a coffee shop. Jiang Yu and Song Yuro were originally talking when suddenly a disheveled girl rushed in. She threw a cup of coffee on Song Yuro, then collapsed into Jiang Yu's arms. Jiang Yu tried to protect the girl and even got into an argument with Song Yuro. The guests were already whispering among themselves, "Oh my god, what's going on here? Who is this woman? She seems mentally unstable. Why is Jiang Yu still protecting her? Could this girl be the other woman?" Soon, a customer noticed Mokar sitting by the computer. "Ah, isn't that the girl from the video?" Yes, that's her. What does this mean? She came here to play this kind of video. Is she trying to steal the groom?" Before Mokar could leave, Jiang Yu rushed forward and grabbed her. "Mokar, what are you doing?" Jiang Yu growled in a low voice. "Did you come here to ruin my engagement party on purpose?" Mokar's lips trembled. Impossible. The video playing should have been the one Shunzi sent. It's not me. Please let me explain. Mokar didn't know what to do either, so she hastily grabbed her phone. Someone sent me this video. Perhaps too flustered to find a scapegoat, or perhaps wanting to ask what was going on. In any case, Mokar made a call to Shunzi. The familiar ringtone sounded from behind. Mokar turned around abruptly, dressed in evening attire. I stood not far behind her, raising the object in my hand with a flourish. It was Shunzi's phone. The next second, I stepped onto the stage, took the microphone, and said, "Hello everyone, thank you all for attending my wedding. I believe you've just seen the video played by my cousin Mokar. Clearly, this three-way relationship is a bit too crowded, making me seriously reconsider whether this engagement should proceed, Jiangyu shouted. Song Euro, what are you doing? How many times have I told you? I only pity Mo-kur. I smiled slightly. Oh, then next, I also have a video I'd like to play. I connected my phone to the large screen, then, heavy breathing sounds echoed through the auditorium. In the scene, Mo-kur sits on the hospital bed, raising her teary eyes to Jiangyu. Please, can you give me some redemption? Jiangyu remained silent, closing his eyes as Mo-kur leaned in and kissed his lips, as if some boundary had suddenly been broken. Jiangyu abruptly pulled Mo-kur into a deeper kiss. The video clearly captures the sound of their rapid, heavy breathing. As the playback ended, the auditorium fell as silent as a graveyard. Jiangyu turned deathly pale. Mo-kur has mental illness. I was just assisting with the treatment. Before he could finish, Mo-kur jumped up. No, I don't. Mo-kur's strategy was clear. She merely feigned illness at my home, relying on others' sympathy to survive. But today, in front of so many people, especially with the live broadcast, she absolutely couldn't admit to having a mental illness. Otherwise, not only would the Jiang family never allow Jiangyu to marry a mentally ill wife, but her future education and job prospects would also be affected. Mo-kur frantically pulled out her medical report from her bag. Jiangyu, look, everything about me is normal. That's great. Someone interrupted her. Mo-kur looked up in shock and stared at me. Holding the microphone, I smiled calmly and repeated, that's great. I'm so glad you're completely normal. Otherwise I'd really be afraid you might escape criminal responsibility under the guise of mental illness. The next second, as if to confirm my words, the police burst through the door. 2 female officers stepped forward, flanking Mo-kur on either side, and escorted her away. In the corner, my already shocked parents were utterly dumbfounded upon witnessing this scene. Euro. What's going on here? I looked to the side and saw Tang Xian, who had entered with the police, walking over to me. Uncle and Aunt, Euro came to me several months ago, suspecting that Mo-kur's father's death wasn't as simple as it seemed. My dad looked into it and indeed found many suspicious points. For example, Mo-kur's father was clearly an experienced driver, yet that day he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, causing him to shatter the windshield upon hitting the bridge pier and be thrown from the car into the river. Moreover, Mo-kur didn't report her father missing for 48 hours, making the autopsy significantly more difficult by the time his body was found. However, through subsequent investigations, we still uncovered many clues. We discovered that the thermos in Mo-kur's father's car contained traces of hallucinogenic drugs, and Mo-kur had online purchase records for this type of drug several months before her father's accident. Mom's legs gave way, but luckily Dad caught her, the one we adopted and brought home. Yes, he's a demon, I whispered. Uncle repeatedly refused our family's financial support, living a frugal life with Mo-kur. He thought he was teaching her self-respect and independence, unaware that Mo-kur had long considered him an obstacle. Jiangyu, standing nearby, turned pale. He stepped forward, trembling, and said, Euro, I was blind before, too kind-hearted. Without looking at him, I coldly replied, Jiangyu, you were never blind. You're not kind-hearted, you're lustful, greedy, foolish, and have no principles. I took my parents and Tang Xian by the hand and walked away without turning back. Don't come looking for me again, you're simply not worthy of me. 13. Epilogue. Later, the court's verdict on Mo-kur's patricide case caused a huge uproar. The Jiang family's reputation was completely ruined during that livestream. Jiangyu, once the illustrious heir of the Jiang group, became a universally despised scumbag and laughingstock. The Jiang family's business plummeted, and Jiangyu gradually developed mental issues. In the end, his parents took him and left the city. My academic journey progressed smoothly afterward, but the only odd thing was that I never saw Su Xiaoran and Ji Zhao again. I messaged the WeChat account named Time Traveler, but Su Xiaoran rarely replied, only occasionally sending me a voice message. We have new work. Deep down, I had a vague idea of what their work entailed. After all, Su Xiaoran once created a small group chat with me and Ji Zhao, and I noticed Ji Zhao's WeChat ID was Soul Chaser. Our trio's group chat was named Work Group 018, perhaps I was their client number 018. What I don't understand is that they provided me with so much assistance without charging me a single penny. What exactly is the compensation for their work? In the spring of the following year, many of my questions were finally answered. Su Xiaoran sent me a text message. The content was just 4 words, want to eat grilled meat. 14. Large slices of fatty beef sprinkled with scallions sizzle on the copper grill, releasing an aromatic oil fragrance. Surrounding them are garlic-buttered mushrooms arranged like small bowls around the grill's edge, already exuding juices that bubble with a boiling sound. Su Xiaoran picked up a piece of kimchi and chewed, finally finished the busy work. Even Spring Festival wasn't peaceful. Across the table, Ji Zhao was using scissors to cut open a molten lava steak with cheese filling. You've worked hard, dear, eat more meat. Su Xiaoran rolled her eyes. Who's your dear? Get lost. She picked up a piece of grilled fatty beef and put it on my plate. What do you know about the two of us? I kept my head down, focusing on eating and playing dumb. What, about you two? I know you're from Peking University, but I don't think Ji Senior ever mentioned which school he's from. Su Xiaoran waved her hand. No need to pretend, Junior, I know you're smart, just say what you know. Since it's come to this, I can't keep playing dumb. Senior Ji is a soul chaser. His ability should be sealing spirits. You're a time reverser, your ability is time regression. I must have been revived thanks to you two saving me. Su Xiaoran chewed on the fatty beef without speaking. Silence essentially meant confirmation. I should have been dead already. That river blooming with red lotuses was the river Styx, with one of you at the bridgehead and the other on the boat. At the bridgehead stands Senior Ji, responsible for guiding the souls back across the bridge. On the boat is Senior Su. You ferry those souls aboard and sail against the current. Su Xiaoran listened silently until I finished, then took a sip of cola. Everything you said is correct, but there's one problem. For souls we've saved, we quietly provide assistance so they can survive after rebirth. But theoretically, these souls shouldn't recognize us. After returning to the living world, their memories of the river Styx are automatically erased. The two of them stared at me with piercing eyes. So, why do you remember me? How should I know? Their eyes didn't blink at all. Me, no, I'm really not playing dumb this time. I raised my hands in surrender. I'm just an ordinary mortal who had a savior complex in my past life and still gets pushed around in this one. Could you gods please stop asking me about your divine affairs? Su Xiaoran glanced at Ji Zhao. She doesn't seem to be lying. Ji Zhao, she genuinely doesn't know. Forget it, it's not important. Su Xiaoran waved her hand. The bottom line is, we saved you, and most importantly, the most important thing is that I still have this memory. I said, no. Su Xiaoran shook her head. The most important thing is, you're still a rich woman. Me, I've decided to start a company. The underworld budget won't get approved, so I plan to find a sponsor in the human world. Su Xiaoran said. You seem like a perfect fit. Me, / you guys eat first. I'll take my leave. / 15. Song Euro left. Ji Zhao grilled meat while leisurely teasing Su Xiaoran. / well, failed to trick her. / Su Xiaoran said calmly, don't worry, she'll come back. Those bound by fate will ultimately return to the cycle of cause and effect. Sure enough, 3 minutes later, Song Euro lifted the curtain and sat back down again. I didn't say I've agreed to you yet, she said sternly. I'm just asking. What exactly is your business? If I invest, can I get my money back? 1 month later, in the alley, Song Euro looked at the tiny storefront with utter disdain. A tacky sign was placed at the entrance, reading wishing shop, 10 yen per try. I must be crazy, Song Euro muttered. I can't believe I'm investing in this thing. Su Xiaoran stood beside her and said kindly, it's alright, that little investment is just a drop in the bucket for you. What do you mean a drop in the bucket? Song Euro exclaimed in frustration. Are you saying that for just 10 yuan? You'll help someone fulfill a wish. Are the abilities of you time turners and soul chasers really that cheap? What are you talking about? Su Xiaoran said, baffled. The 10 yuan is just the price for making a wish. It means the guest can write their wish on a slip of paper for me. As for actually fulfilling the wish, that's a separate fee. By the way, let me introduce me, the shop manager, Ji Zhao, assistant manager. Song Euro sneered. A general without an army, huh? You don't even have a single employee. Su Xiaoran pointed at Song Euro. You, staff member. Song Euro, wait, explain this clearly. Aren't I the investor? Why did I suddenly become a shop assistant? Following behind Jiang Yu was my best friend Tang Xian. The moment she saw Jiang Yu in this state, she couldn't contain her anger. Fine, I'm leaving. Consider this investment as good as throwing meat buns to a dog. / The influential Miss Song was utterly helpless against Su Xiaoran. Fuming, she turned and stormed off. Just as I stepped out of the shop, I bumped into a pale-faced girl. Excuse me, Is this a place where wishes come true? The girl asked timidly. Song Yuro froze for a second, then flashed a warm smile. Yes.